Booth Summit 2021. My name is Amber. I am going to be your host for the next 2 days here at Booth Summit. Thank you so much to every single one of you for joining us today. Whether you're joining us on YouTube or Facebook, we are so happy that you are here. And I sincerely hope that every single one of you out there today is ready to become a little sponge, because we have so much information for all of you to absorb in anticipation of a very, very busy season ahead. Now, as a photo booth strategist here at Photobooth Supply Co., I have the pleasure with chatting with so many of you early in your photo booth journeys. And so it's so inspiring to see all the hard work and hustle that is going on out there right now. So many of you guys decided to start your business during a pandemic, and you have adapted and hustled your way through just about everything. And now, as that chapter starts to come to a close, we want to help get you guys prepped for everything that this year is going to have in store. But before we dive into all of our amazing talks and speakers that we have planned for these next 2 days, I do think it's important that we acknowledge why we are here and that we take a quick second to make sure we are getting into the right mindset to receive all of this information. Now, friends, let's have a little heart to heart. 2020 was difficult, like really, really difficult. And I want you to know that it's totally normal to feel jaded or cheated or frustrated about whatever 2020 brought to you, your business, and your family. But we are officially at a point where that negativity no longer serves us. It's just holding us back. And so today, I'm going to encourage you to let go of any residual frustration or anger or negativity that you have about 2020 so that we can all start fresh. So all together now, as a final farewell to 2020, thank you for the lessons learned. Thank you for showing us how to pivot. And most importantly, thank you for ending. Amen. Okay, so now that that is behind us, let's get ready to spring right into this conference. I was actually reading an article on Yahoo Finance not too long ago that was predicting the photo booth industry was set to hit $1 billion by 2027, which is huge. And while I think that is an amazing figure all on its own, that's still 5 to 6 years away. And here you are in 2021 at the beginning of it all. And it's still just the beginning for this whole industry. We're starting to enter a market now where everything and everywhere is an experience. And we've learned that photo booths are by far the most effective, fun, and efficient ways to capture all of those experiences. So a photo booth is becoming the new standard at any type of event. And so we want all of you guys to be at the forefront of this very growing industry. Every single one of you is here for a reason, and I sincerely believe that. Whether you are a veteran entrepreneur and business owner, or maybe you're brand new into the world of photo booths and you're just starting out, or maybe you haven't even started yet and you're just testing the waters. Make no mistake that you are meant to be here and you are meant to receive all of this information today, which is ultimately going to give you the tools in order to maximize every single event this year, grow your business, and most importantly, reach your goals, whatever they may be. Now, we have a packed day today and tomorrow. We're bringing you 14 incredible speakers, all from various facets of life and work. So today we're going to be focusing on a range of topics, including closing bookings, making sure our contracts are rock solid moving forward, using Pinterest for our business, doing events in a pandemic, networking, pricing design, the pitfalls of printing, and the entrepreneur's journey, and so much more. Now, every single one of these people who are speaking today, these are real people working in the industry here, bringing you their real life experiences. And they are so, so excited to share with you everything that they know. Now, here at Photobooth Supply Co., we really value the idea of community over competition. And we sincerely believe that there is enough opportunity to go around for all of us. So as we embark on this summit over the next 2 days, I encourage you guys to be as engaged as possible. What does that mean? Obviously here listening to the speakers, but also get involved. Comment on all the chats wherever you're watching from, ask questions. Most of our speakers are doing a Q&A after their segment, so please ask as many questions as you have. There are no stupid questions. Comment your thoughts, celebrate your wins, boost each other up, and let's make the most of these next 48 hours because pretty soon you're all gonna be too busy. Now, there are a lot of opportunities on the horizon with postponed events and 2021 events. So this week, we're going to make sure everybody here is equipped to handle every single one. I want to give a quick shout out to DNP for sponsoring today's booth summit. We are so grateful for DNP and all of the services that they provide to our photo booth owners and to the world. They're also providing one of the many prizes that we will be giving out over the course of Booth Summit. All the prizes are going to be given out at the end of each day. So do make sure that you stay for the entire time to be eligible to win one of the prizes. And of course, before we dive into all of our chats and speakers, I think now is a good time to turn off your cell phone notifications, grab yourself some water because we are staying hydrated in 2021, grab a snack, and grab your preferred method of note-taking because you are going to want to take notes. And before I introduce our first speaker, I'm going to take a brief moment to introduce you to two of my very favorite people on this entire earth. That is our success agents, Amanda and Cameron. Amanda currently leads the Photobooth Supply Co Success Department with a commitment to grammatical excellence and an unfortunate penchant for bad jokes. She dreams in puns and spends waking hours creating experiences to surprise and delight the photo booth community. Amanda has an extensive background in writing, art, and design, and can speak at length with anybody willing to explore the dogma of brand identity, as well as, whoa, what is that word? Philosophical ideology. Thank you. Cameron has also personally mentored hundreds of you guys. You may recognize him from your SALSA onboardings. He's mentored owners from around the world on how to both start and grow their businesses. So these intimate conversations give him a really unique and competitive edge on the entire photo booth market. So please welcome my friends, Amanda and Cameron.
Much for the super kind introduction, Amber. Like she said, I'm Cameron with the Photobooth Supply Co Success team, and I'm here with Amanda.
Hey guys.
So like Amber said, you probably recognize us from either the onboardings or from just writing into support, and we're going to be kind of your fun filler content for the day. So in between speakers, we're going to be telling you all about the hottest tips to have some successful events in 2021. Things that you might have missed, and anything I'm missing, Amanda?
The worst jokes you've ever heard.
Yeah. The worst or the best, depends on how you want to look at it. So,
I mean, I'm a fan of them, but we'll find out if you guys are too.
Yeah, and we'll be definitely interacting with you guys in the chat as well. So as we go through everything, if any of you guys have questions along the way, feel free to throw them in the chat. We'll be passing those questions along to everybody else. As we get ready for our first speaker, Amanda, do you want to get started talking about some of the hottest features of 2021?
Absolutely. So everybody has probably heard me say this a lot over the past few months, but one of the biggest trends in 2021 continues to be virtual booth.
Yes, so much so, yeah. And even as things start to open up and we've started to see it, more and more people are getting vaccinated if that's what you want to do. More and more events are happening. People are booking. It's happening. Things are opening back up. But even despite that, there's still going to be a transition period where we're going to be focusing a lot on hybrid events. And with hybrid events, you can still use things like the virtual booth. And that's going to allow you to really integrate those events for those that can't physically be there. Maybe there are travel restrictions or whatever the case might be. And there's just a lot of really cool ideas. Yeah.
I think I'm most excited about the hybrid booths because virtual booth is great while we still have areas that can't have in-person events. But even once everything is back to being totally in public again, having those virtual events as part of live events is going to be so much fun, if only because of the features that are involved. Like we've got a lot of cool stuff coming. It's going to be so exciting. And honestly, who doesn't love having fun masks on your phone that you could just send?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's such a good point though too. Like I said, with these hybrid events, even when, like Amanda was just saying, when everything is back to normal, there are so many different opportunities for this. Even for full in-person events, I've actually talked with some booth owners who have had the physical in-person booth at a wedding, and then they have QR codes for the virtual booth on all the tables, which I thought was such a cool idea. It really helps drive that engagement and interaction with people, especially for those people who maybe don't want to get into the booth.
Or who just don't want to wait in line because nobody has time for lunch.
Yeah, for sure. No, and it makes it a little bit easier for people. Like I said, sometimes people are just more comfortable taking a selfie at a table with their friends and family than they are being in front of everybody, but they still don't, they still get to interact and have a good time with it. So.
Absolutely. I feel like virtual booth was probably invented by people that have either tremendous stage fright or hate having their photo taken. And this way they can kind of be part of that experience without feeling like the entire room is watching them
Absolutely
potentially make an idiot of themselves, which is part of the fun.
Yeah, I mean, that's all having fun with the photo booth. But no, it is a really great feature, and I don't think it's going anywhere. I think it's going to be something that's sticking around, and they're only going to get better and better over time, more and more features. And I know here at Photobooth Supply Co, we're definitely cooking up quite a few new things that will be coming, and we're always updating it. So you'll definitely just have to stay tuned and see what we come out with.
Yeah, for real. So
perfect.
On that note.
Yeah. Perfect. So now we're going to transition into our first speaker. Amanda, do you want to introduce her?
Yes, I do. Coming straight from the cold, cold north in Canada, one of my favorite people, Catalina Block. Live to you.
No, I was muted. Wow, you'd think this was my first time actually being on a live stream or something. Hi guys, thanks so much for joining us at Booth Summit 2021. This is super exciting. So I actually have Nate in the background here who's going to queue up some stuff for me because I have a lot of stuff I want to show you guys. This course is all about how to book every single lead. And I'm going to tell you my secret. If you guys were, sorry, one sec, I have some feedback here. There we go. If you guys were at PBX last year, you would have probably seen my talk about proposals, and that is probably one of my biggest secrets. So I'm going to walk you guys through a lot of this stuff and how we actually end up booking as many people as we do. So as veteran users, or even as somebody starting out, we struggled a lot with how to present our quotes to clients and how to close leads, because you can have a ton of leads coming in, but if you're not treating your leads right, then you're going to end up with a couple of problems. Because if you're not presenting your quotes properly, you're not going to close people, or people aren't going to value the product that you're presenting to them and the price that you're presenting to them. So you're going to be playing the pricing game. And we all know that that is just a very slow race to the bottom. So when I first started out, I used to send out estimates. And this is what a lot of people do. It's easy to do. And if you're first starting out and don't have a CRM system, then that's probably what we all did. You can easily download templates from like Excel or even from Google Sheets if you just type in like invoice template, and they'll pop up. You just drop in your information. And Nate, actually, if you can cue that invoice that I have, I'm going to show you guys what mine looked like before. So Nate's just going to get that up on my screen, and I'm going to walk you through what our invoices used to look like. And literally what I would do is I would send like an email. My other lap. There we go. You guys can all hear Nate in there. So here is what our invoice looked like. And you'll see that it's literally just breaking down line items that mean absolutely nothing to a client whatsoever, right? Like all they see, or the first thing I see, is the price at the bottom. Because if I'm a client, I'm like, okay, cool, logo, price. And that's it. There's no context. And yeah, sure, I sent a huge email that maybe has this wonderful explanation of everything that's going on. But in reality, no one is going to read all of that. They're going to be like, what am I looking for? This link tells me the price. Here's where I'm going to go. So this does get the information across, but it's not necessarily the greatest way of doing it. They're also, pretty time consuming to make when you're adding in all these line items and then you'll notice that there's only a couple of prices at the top because those were add-ons. So we never break out our pricing, because people will nitpick at pricing. They'll be like, well, I don't actually need this image delivery Dropbox, which costs me $100. It's like, well, you kind of do, because how else do you think you're going to get your photos at the end of the day? So they don't know, right? And so they'll just kind of like remove things. But that's why we don't actually put them in. But in this case, back then we actually had add-ons. And so that's why you see some of them at the top there. So then again, like if someone looks at this, they're going to be like, okay, it's a photo booth for $1,400. Yeah, I'm going to pass on that. And then they'll probably never respond to you. Even if you do follow up, they'll be like, nah, it doesn't really matter. So one day I got this request from like this super prestigious event firm. I had known about them because they do all the biggest events here in Ottawa. And they asked me for a quote for a 2-day photo booth. And it was outdoors for this huge Canadian brand that's fairly famous here. And here's little old me with my cute little photo booth and, my 3-hour weddings. And that's what I had done back then. And I didn't really know what to do. And I was like, I did the math and I'm like, hey, 2 days is going to be like $4,000. I'm like, how am I going to show this company that they should just fork over $4,000 for me in my cute photo booth? Because an invoice wasn't going to cut it at this point. Like I'm thinking, how can I possibly show my value? I came from the corporate world. And in the corporate world, we used to present our stuff to clients in proposals. Like they were really boring and they had a lot of corporate stock photography and stuff. But if I can close a $250,000 deal using one of these proposals, then why can't I close a $4,000 deal for a photo booth job? So I made a proposal. Let me show you what one of those looked like. Nate, if you can get that screen grab back up. I have a proposal set up here. I made this proposal on Pages for Mac for this client. Thank you. And as you can see, it's pretty basic. Like it has my logo and all this kind of stuff and like table of contents. I thought it was super fancy. This is 2017. I thought this was fancy. I had a great picture of my photo booth and all this kind of stuff. And I started to break down everything that was in there. So, I'm sending something that has a large amount of money. And they also had 3 more events that were happening that year alone that they had already mentioned in their original call. So I really knew that I had to land this client. So you'll notice that, this proposal actually, when I get to the end of it here, is all about them. So I even put in samples of what their outputs were going to look like so they could really visualize what this was going to be at their event. And, I gave them a couple of samples and we even put in props. Back then we actually used props. So we had some Canada Day stuff that we threw in there. And so that was how we presented this. Can you guys guess what happened? Throw it in the comments if you think that we booked this client or not. Because I'm just going to give you a spoiler. But yes, of course we booked them. They asked very few questions and they literally came to me and they were like, well, so where can I send payment to? And then they also booked all of their other events for 3 straight years, like not that exact same day, but like a few days after they started giving us more information. And we actually kept this client for 3 years until they had a whole corporate restructure. So they loved the proposal. And what they loved most about it was that they were able to present this and the entire concept to their team. Nate, can you actually remove the screen grab? I'm going to switch to another one in a second. And so they literally took this entire proposal and they just sent that to their team. They did it in their presentation and there was nothing lost in translation. All of the questions that I thought that they were going to have were answered in there. And sure enough, they were able to communicate this with their entire team. So here's why proposals work. They're about the client. They're not about the business. They highlight the features and they highlight how you're going to help the client. People want to educate themselves about your service, but only if it's directly related to them. just like you're more interested in reading something about yourself than you are about somebody else. And you have to present value before you can present price, because if you are just presenting price, then that's all that people are going to see, and they're just not going to value it as in the same way. So over the years, we've evolved. You know, this was 2017. I did that for about a year, and then I was starting to think like there has to be an easier way to do this. We started getting a lot of leads, and I started sending this out to everyone. So don't think that this is just for corporate or this is just for large events, because it's not. We started sending this out to all of our wedding clients as well. And, you know, that is what really kind of like helped us close a lot of these wedding clients, because wedding clients are very different, right? They envision a photo booth and they have this idea in their head of what it is. And when we're trying to present to them a super styled photo booth that is, you know, sometimes twice as expensive as what they're used to seeing out in the market, we have to work hard for those leads. But this is exactly what Turning Point was for us. So we found a software to use to make our proposals, but I'm not even going to bother to tell you what it is, because it costs me about $2,000 a year per person that I want to put on there. It is like a super fancy pants proposal software. But, you know, there are other softwares out there that you can make proposals with, and I'm going to show you one of them. So again, send these to your wedding clients, send these to your corporate clients, send them to literally everyone, because you are going to see your close ratio skyrocket just by using this. So I'm going to show you how we customize our proposals, and I'm going to walk you through every single section. So this is specifically a proposal that I would show to somebody who is going to book our digital booth, our digital SALSA booth. So Nate, if you can queue up that other screen, and it's okay if you hide my whole face if you want to do the whole thing there. So this proposal, I'll wait until the end to share with you how you can potentially get access to this. And I'm also going to tell you that originally, when we actually started doing proposals, we would spend hours on mock-ups. And I'm going to explain to you what a mock-up is in just a minute. But it's all about, you know, how you can show your clients more. Okay, so this is actually what a proposal would look like. And here's the landing page. So what I want to show you here is it has our client's logo on it. It says what kind of event it is, and then it has a call to action button. Now at the bottom, you'll see all of our information is like our name, our email address for contact, our website, and our phone number. Oh, so I think it actually got cut off by my screen share, but it is at the bottom. So the first screen that you're going to see here is going to be like, it has to be huge. It has to be something that they're like, wow. So here is a mock-up of exactly what their photo booth is going to look like. This is the screen that they're going to have. These are the lights that they're going to have and everything. So this is, you know, should be a wow factor for them. And then you're going to have in the note section saying like, this is your customized experience. You know, we are going to build this booth to be all about you. The next thing that I go into is the backdrop, because the backdrop makes up a significant amount of the photo. So we will actually show them the entire setup. This is the backdrop and this is the photo booth. This is exactly what it's going to look like when it is set up at your venue. So they don't even need to worry about like, you know, what could this setup possibly look like? Is it going to be like an older booth? Is it going to be this? This is it, guys. This is exactly what you're getting. Again, we're going to have a bit of a description as to like what they are getting, and like this is the exact color actually of backdrop that they're also going to get. Instant prints. So we're going to talk a little bit about the prints. We're going to show them as well that this is what they look like. They're going to come out. This is the backdrop that they selected. This is the overlay that we're going to create for them. And literally there's no question as to what this entire activation is going to look like. So it's important to highlight, again, the features that they find most important for their event. So if prints are really important because they want people to take a takeaway, make sure that you highlight exactly what those prints are going to have. If you have your masks or your glam filter on here, and this is another, you know, big upsell for in-person events, you can show it to them, show them exactly what they're going to look like. And, you know, you can switch between these and it'll actually change them. So it's an interactive proposal that shows all of this stuff. And of course, on every single page, you're going to notice that we do have a call to action, meaning that if they're like, this is awesome, I need to book this now, they can go ahead and press that button at any time. And in this case, it's actually going to link them directly to our booking portal. So they can just go ahead and have like complete their booking from there. You can also have that button go pretty much anywhere you want, but for us, that's where it would go. So this page here is going to tell them exactly all of the sharing options that they have. This is really important since the majority of events nowadays are all about like, how can my guests get their photos out into like the internet, onto Instagram, all that kind of stuff. So here we just outline exactly all of the sharing features that they are going to have available for them. So email, text, airdrop, QR codes, and printing, since in this case we are doing printing. Customized email. Again, guys, you have to remember that you know all of the features of your photo booth and you're trying to explain to your customers all of these features and why they need them. So this is why it's super important to lay it out in this really simple format so that you can show them a really cool picture that is all about them. So you'll notice here that the logo's here in the corner. You know, it's actually set up to like their call to action is to get swag at the end of this event. So it says here like that's their title of the email. Obviously we could change that, but it gives them a rundown of exactly what their custom email is even going to look like. Custom text message. Again, this is the exact text message that they are going to get, and it's going to show them what the link is even going to look like. So here it's like we even have a little emoji because it's cute. We can put emojis in our text messages, but you know, we have here that we can tell them, we can customize the message, we can add hashtags. This is just another way that they can get their message across to their clients. And then the instant online album. I don't know, 8 out of 10 of my clients don't understand what a live gallery is or a microsite. It doesn't matter what we call it. They don't understand it until we show them what it is. And so here we just show them a mock-up of what the live gallery looks like on desktop and on the phone so that they can see that they can be viewed on absolutely any device. And then that's it. We literally have an end screen that tells them, let's do this, let's book this, and let's get this party started. And it has the call to action for them to actually book. So this proposal, again, will link to our booking system, and then they can go ahead and complete the booking at the end of it. But by showing them all of this, we find that a lot of times once we send a proposal like this, we'll usually close someone within a day or two, depending on the size of the event. Bigger, like much higher price events will definitely take a lot longer to close. But for the smaller parties, as soon as we send them this, they totally understand everything from start to finish. So this is a really, really great way for you guys to make sure that you are showing your value and being able to get those big ticket prices that you should be getting in order to make an adequate profit with your photo booth, right? Because when you're showing all of these things, each one of them has a price tag attached to it. If you're doing custom screens, you should be charging at least $150 to do that. If you're doing custom emails and custom text message as well, charge for that, guys. All of these things have value to them. So I'm seeing these questions rolling in like crazy over here on the chat. So I kind of want to get to those. And the last thing I'm going to leave you with the proposals is that you can't just send a proposal and then think that they're going to book right away, because you know, sometimes people have questions or anything. Like you might have answered a lot of it, but you still need to follow up. If they have not booked with you after maybe a day or two of viewing that proposal, follow up. Follow up. That is like the second most important thing you can do to close a sale. So guys, I hope that this was informative for you. I will tell you something before I go to the questions though, because this might blow your mind. But in the chat, How awesome would this be if this was included potentially in your SALSA app? Because this is where I'm pulling this from, actually. This is a new feature that is going to be released soon, and you guys are seeing it for the first time here in beta. And so what the beautiful thing about this is that I just went in and created this event in SALSA app like I would any other event, and then hit one button called proposal, and it made this. Like, it took 2 seconds. I was floored the first time that PBS showed me this. And I think you guys are going to absolutely love this feature when it comes out, because you're going to have to set up these events anyways. But it is so easy to set up the event. And now you have these amazing proposals that you could send to people. And then when they book, your event is already set up. So you guys have this to look forward to. And I can't even get over how amazing this is. So Photobooth Supply Co, good job on this one. All right, now let's go to questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kat, for that information. That was honestly, my mind is blown. And obviously those proposals look amazing. I have a bunch of questions here for you. So let's just dive right in, right? So from Your Special Events USA, they ask, would this concept work for non-corporate clients? So weddings, private parties, and things like that.
Yes, absolutely. We send this to everyone, like literally if it's our weddings, birthday parties, digital booths, virtual booths, it doesn't matter. Everyone who comes in gets a proposal. Some of them obviously are way more elaborate than others, but sure, everyone gets a proposal.
Love it. Okay, awesome. Now, Tasha Robinson asks, so would a proposal be better to do than posting your pricing on your website?
So this is an ongoing debate, and I've always been against posting prices on my website. When I first started out and I only had one photo booth and we only did one thing, we did post our prices on our website because we only did those packages. But as we grew, we realized that it was much better for us to customize, because I felt like everyone would come in and be like, oh, well, I need 4 hours instead of 3, and your package only has 3. And they either thought that we didn't offer anything outside of that package, or once we added to it, it was a lot harder to get that price from them. So we switched then to starting at price. And then that way we had people come into us, and then we built every single package custom for them. So I personally do not like putting my prices on my website because it does prompt people to reach out to me, and then it allows me to create a package that's specific for them.
Love it. Super custom, super unique to whatever they need. That's awesome. Okay, question from Amber Matthews. Amber, great name. What software do you use to create these interactive proposals? You already kind of answered that, but just to reemphasize, what software do you use?
So I was using a third-party software that was stupid expensive. And now that this SALSA app has proposals built into it, we will be using this 1,000% because it's just so easy. Like, yeah, I can't wait for you guys to try it out because I built this like an hour ago, pretty much. Like, that's how quick it is.
Love it. Okay, Christian G asked, can this be integrated into a person's website? What do you think?
I don't see why you would, but theoretically, yes. You could make like a generic proposal, and then if you are tech savvy enough to know how to use iframes or embed codes, please don't reach out to the support team with that, though, because they won't know how to do that. But yeah, theoretically, you could make a generic one and then post that on your website.
Awesome. Yeah, not a bad idea. Next question. How much does this software cost? And is it going to be free with the SALSA app?
I'm not 1,000% sure on all this, but I have a pro subscription. And from what I've heard, the ramblings is that this will be included at least for a limited time with the pro subscription at no additional cost to for the first release. But I'm sure that Photobooth Supply Co will provide some more information once it actually is released. But I know for sure at first it will be in the Pro subscription. And the Pro subscription is $99 a month. Like you needed any more reason to subscribe, you'll have eventually proposals and then virtual booth at the same time, plus all of your existing in-person events, like kind of crazy.
Totally. Okay, next question from Kathy. Kathy asks, when is this going to be released? I don't know. Do we have a date yet for this?
I was not told the date. I'm sorry, guys. I mean, I have access to it, so that doesn't really matter if anyone else does, right? No, I'm just kidding. I'm assuming it's going to be coming out really, really soon. So if not, I mean, I know that there's an update that comes out almost every 2 weeks, it feels like. So yeah. I'm sure in the next couple of updates, you guys can be expecting this.
Yeah, Kathy and everybody else, stay up to date. Obviously, be checking your emails. We're really good about sending an email out with the new updates, and then check social media as well, because we try to blast it out there as well. Next question from Jennifer. Ooh, this is a good one. Can they submit payment from this proposal as well?
So you can't do it like technically directly in the app, but you could just link that book now button to an invoice. If you wanted to, like I mentioned, we would link this to our booking proposal, which we use another system for that. But if you don't have a booking proposal or contract software or anything like that, and you just do maybe a Square invoice or something, you could just link it directly to the Square invoice and have the button say pay now, and then they pay, and then done deal, you've booked your event.
Easy peasy, and gotten paid for it. Next one, this is from the Photobooth Boutique. Will the app be available for non-SALSA owners at any point?
You don't actually have to have a SALSA. Yeah, you don't need to have a SALSA booth to have a SALSA app, because you can subscribe to the SALSA app. You get your virtual booth in there, and you can use the SALSA app, with any other booths. Like I know I had, because sadly Photobooth Supply Co did not obviously always make iPad booths. I did have some, but we use SALSA app on all of our photo booths. Now we only purchase SALSA booths, but even if you don't, like if you're a legacy owner, or even if you have a DSLR, like you can subscribe to the SALSA app, you get your virtual booth, you'll get your proposal, plus you'll also be able to use it for digital events and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
So yes, the answer is this is already available to you. There is a link to our 30-day free trial on our website. Okay, the next question comes from Lux Booth. What's the turnaround time to get this created after a client inquires with you?
Okay, so I made this morning. I had played around with the software, like the proposal before, but I didn't make a whole proposal from start to finish. And by before, I mean last night. So this morning I was like, okay, I'm going to make this event, and I made the event. And this is, like there's some customizations in here, but I'd say from start to finish, the whole thing took me 10 minutes at most, because I had to make a logo to put in there for the live gallery and stuff. So 10 minutes, start to finish. I created the event, clicked the proposal button, it was there. And now when they book, the event's already created, so I literally wouldn't have to do anything. I could just go to the event, test the day before, then go to the event.
Oh, so easy. I love it. Rashonda asks, is this on SALSA already? We did answer this. It's not yet on SALSA. It is currently in beta, but it is coming to you guys very, very soon. Samantha asks, the proposal would be based on the client, but what is the best way to collect all of the necessary info from the client? So how do you cater these proposals to all of their needs?
We use this old-fashioned method called a phone call. And whenever somebody submits their form, so we have a form on our website that collects the most basic information, obviously their first name, last name, phone number, email, and the date of their event. Then we have a space in there that asks them tell us a little bit about your event. And sometimes they put something in there, but 9 times out of 10, they don't. So we always call everyone. Now, if you don't have the ability to call, because we didn't start off like that, when I worked full time and ran this as a side hustle, we automated absolutely everything. And if I couldn't call them that day, then that's not the end of the world. So you can have a form and then send them a questionnaire for the additional information. You could always ask them by email, but I always like to ask them, tell me a little bit about your event, because that usually people start to gush about their event, right? Like they've spent a lot of time planning it, and they will tell you a lot of information by asking them that one question.
Totally. And most people get really excited too. So it helps kind of build up that momentum, makes them more excited to go pay for their booth. Next question from My Selfie Mirror. Do you send the proposal for every inquiry as they come in without trying to get in touch first or ask for additional questions? You kind of answered this, but just to re-emphasize, do you get in touch with people before you send the proposals?
Generally, yes. Yeah, we try to get a hold of them before we actually send the proposal to them.
And the main purpose of that, of course, is to better like cater the proposal to all of their specific needs, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so that old-fashioned phone call is definitely worth your while. Okay, next question. This is a good one. What if you have a client who requests a paper proposal and doesn't want a digital proposal?
Like real paper?
I assume that's what she means. This is from Lachelle. So Lachelle, if you want to clarify in the comments.
I mean, you can fax it. No, I'm just kidding. Every time someone asks me to fax them something, I'm like, what year is this? Like, I haven't seen a fax machine since like 91. I mean, you could just PDF this, you know, from your web browser. Since it is web-based, just right-click, right-click, and then hit print on Mac. It save as PDF is an option. I'm sorry, Windows people, I'm not sure how that works, but I'm sure that is available to you guys as well.
All right, next question from Christina Mills. Where does the book now call to action button link to on the proposals? Is it customizable so that you can integrate this into an existing studio management system?
Yeah, you can link it to anything you want. You can change the text of that button to anything you want. So, you know, you can have it linked to a form. You can have it linked to payment. You can have it linked to your booking site. It's up to you where you would like it to link.
Awesome. Is there another app or software out there to create this PowerPoint?
Well, PowerPoint would be one. Yeah, I mean, there's tons of software out there. And honestly, PowerPoint has templates for proposals. You know, there's a lot of different stuff out there. If you Google proposal software, you'll find a bunch of different things, and each have their pros and cons and you know, ease of use and all that. The thing with the if you use a PowerPoint or even any other third-party proposals, that you do manually have to make these things, like these assets and stuff like that. Whereas that is the one nice thing about this one, is that it literally auto generates all of that and the animation. Like,
right. This
is way fancier than most of our proposals. We don't have animations in ours. Now I want them in all of our proposals.
PowerPoint's cool, but building it from scratch is very different than being able to just quickly plug and link and then send it off, I think. Okay, next question from Tawana. How would one implement this if using a booking system? What info is needed to capture all of this information to create these proposals?
Sorry, if you're using a booking system. So we use a booking, like we use a CRM system as well. And in this case, what I do is I send this proposal and then I have it linked to our booking system. So like on our booking system, it'll take them to accept then the contract and then the payment. So I would just link directly to that, so that it's that way the client's already been created, right? So the workflow from start to finish on my end would be, they fill out the form online, they give us all that information, we call them, we get some more information, we update our CRM. Then we would go and make this proposal, send them the proposal, link the proposal to our CRM system. So when they're ready to actually book, they would just click on that.
Okay, next question from Eugene. When the beta goes live, will users be able to customize this proposal for a legacy or a queso?
Because this is SALSA app, it's only going to be for the SALSA for this one in particular.
Okay, got it. Next one from Karina. I noticed that there's no pricing in the proposal. Is that something that appears after they decide to sign?
Yes. So in this particular version, there is no pricing. I'm not sure if that's something that is probably going to come. I know that was one thing that I had mentioned as well, that it would be nice to have a spot where we can put pricing. So I'm sure it's going to come out in an update. But realistically, your proposal is meant to give information. It's meant to educate people and have them go through it. And again, going back to the first part of my talk where I say, you know, you shouldn't be emphasizing your price, because your price is literally just what's needed in order for them to get all of these awesome features. So you need to explain to them what the awesome features are before they can actually see the price, because without explanation, that price is probably not going to make sense to them. But once they've gone through all of this and they see everything that they're getting, when they get to the price, they're going to be like, okay, let's do this.
Totally. And that just goes back to all you were talking about showing the value of what you can provide. Okay, next question from Wiz Clarifa. I'm obsessed with that name. Does the SALSA app have technology to help with creating client logos? Are you just inputting the client logo that they provide for you, or is this a separate app being used to create their logo for your proposal? So how are you branding these?
That one I just actually made in Canva real quick. So because nice. I needed to I took their logo and I threw it into Canva so that it was the right size for the proposal logo spot. And then it took like all of 5 seconds to do that, exported transparent background, and then good to go. And there's an article or a support article on that, on how to use Canva to create like templates, and you can use the same concept for making logos as well.
I love it. Yeah, guys, Canva is so amazing. If you haven't jumped on it yet, I feel like it's like Microsoft Paint, but 1,000 times better. Yeah, no, I know. A little bit of a throwback there with the Microsoft Paint.
Good old spray can.
Yeah. But so much better. Okay, this next question comes from Kathy and Lonnie Zahn. What questions are you asking your clients in order to create your proposal? So what are the hard-hitting questions? And I think something too that a lot of people struggle with is, what are the important questions to ask that don't induce decision fatigue? We don't want to, stress anybody out with too many options.
We asked them the one basic question, like, tell us about your event, like, why are you having this event, trying to find out what the event is, obviously. And then there's going to be the most common questions, which are like venue, time. Usually they'll answer the majority of the other ones when you say like, hey, sorry, I'm getting distracted. What's the purpose of your event? Like, why are you having this event? They'll tell you what the theme is, like why they're having it, what the goal of the event is, that kind of stuff. So that one question is actually very powerful. And then of course the details. The details are really important, but you don't need to ask them stuff like, what background do you want, or what do you want your template to look like? That is all stuff that you can figure out later. Like, make sure that you just know the basics of the goal of their event, and then from there present, and then you guys can go over like backdrop and template design afterwards.
Totally. Figure out their goals and what's important to them, and then you can add all the details since you are the expert. Okay, a couple more questions here. So we've got another one from Your Special Events USA. Will you be able to add additional backdrops to the proposals, or will you only be able to use the ones that PBSCO offers? So I think this is asking, can the proposals be even more customized than the one that you showed?
So in this one, it only has PBSCO backdrops, but you also have the option to do green screen. So you could just use a green screen to, show any of the other backdrops that you wanted to use instead.
Totally. And I think, as you guys know, if you've been with the SALSA app for a little while, we love to get features out to you ASAP and then continue to build them out as time goes on. So if that's something you're interested in, you got to fill out a feedback form. Amanda can show you where that is if you don't know. Okay, last couple questions here. One from Courtney. Do you do deposits, or do people pay full price when they press that book now button from your proposal?
Great question. It depends on how far out their event is. So we take a $500 retainer, and that's a whole other class. But guys, please Google the difference between retainer and deposit in your area. It makes a difference. One is refundable, one is not, but it also depends on where you are, because nothing's simple nowadays. So just Google that. Talk to a lawyer is more important. But yeah. For us here in Canada, retainers are non-refundable. So that is the price that they pay to retain the date, and for us to do like basic administration and all that kind of stuff on their event. And that is what they pay right away. And then if they're booking though under 30 days, then they pay full price, because we do require full payment upfront 30 days before their event.
Cool. Great question. All right, guys, we'll do 2 more questions here. So we've got one from Karina. She asked, will I be able to add my own mock-up to the proposal?
Not that I saw like on this one because this is all built out from what you created on SALSA app. But if you need something that custom, then that's maybe when you would want to look at having a third-party software. And again, guys, this is a tool that you will use for your SALSA booth. You know, if you are going to be, if you are a SALSA owner and you have the SALSA app, like this is an incredible tool to simplify your life. If you are an owner like me who has multiple booths as well, you might need to have an additional software. But for those of you who are starting out with your SALSA booth as your first booth, then this is an incredible tool, like game-changing tool for you guys. So I would definitely use this to you know, market your SALSA booth as much as possible. But yeah, there's going to be situations where, you know, you have to do something super custom. And unfortunately, at that point, you'll have to get another software that does custom stuff like that.
Totally. Okay, last question from DJ El Bambino. How do you follow up with a client or a guest after using the SALSA booth since they input their info? I think he means after, like, you send over the proposal. So if you don't get a bite after the proposal, how do you follow up?
We literally just send them an email like a few days later and say, hey, did you have any questions on the proposal? Or, you know, is there anything that I can help with type of thing? And they'll either ignore that or respond to it. And then if they ignore it, I'll wait a few more days and then I'll do it again.
Sure. Yeah, it's simple as that, right? Reach out, see what they think. But that's great. Kat, thank you so much for this incredible intro into proposals and for answering all of these questions. And clarify for me, we're going to see you again tomorrow too, right?
Yes, I will be talking about virtual booths and whether or not they're still relevant. Ooh. I don't know. You'll have to wait to find out. But I'm going to hang out in the comments and try and answer some of these as well. So yeah, thanks so much, guys. And I can't wait to see you guys tomorrow. I hope this was helpful. I would love to hear your feedback because I always like creating stuff that is helpful for you guys. So yeah, I'll see you on the next one.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kat. See you later. Bye.
Hey guys, that was such an awesome conversation. I'm so excited about the proposal tool. How about you, Amanda?
I love this. I cannot wait to see how helpful this is going to be for our owners, and I kind of can't wait to play with it myself.
Yeah, totally. And it's so hard to keep this stuff under wraps, guys. So we're super excited to share it with you. Kat did an amazing job showing it off. But this proposal conversation really sparks a good conversation topic. And that is, with more and more events being booked and more people preparing for the events that are ahead, it's time to kind of get ready and get prepared. And there's a couple things that you want to make sure that you're doing before you actually go to an event. So Amanda, you want to walk us through some of the things that you should definitely be checking out before you roll up to an event?
I really do, because this is so important, you guys, and it will save you so much stress, so many headaches. So obviously, the first one is the same thing that we tell you guys all the time, but I'm still going to say it again. Test your event. At least a few days beforehand, make sure that you have everything all set up. You know where your overlays are, you have your templates ready, any of those design assets that you want to use for your event, make sure to load them into the SALSA app, whether you're doing it via the web app or on iOS, however you want to do it, make sure that you test them out so that if there is an issue and things don't look quite right, getting really stressed out over that, it's just better to test ahead of time.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's a really good point. And that goes with everything. Just test. If you think you've tested enough, you haven't tested enough. Make sure, keep testing. Make sure that you're trying out everything. And sometimes things change, right? Maybe it's been a while since you've played around with SALSA and or your Photobooth software of choice, right? And so there are things that change. And me and Kat, we actually did a live stream a couple of weeks ago that you might have saw about all the things that you missed in this last year. And there are so many things that came out in the last year that it's honestly mind-blowing.
Yeah, it's so true. And if you don't play around with those beforehand, you're really going to have a hard time mastering them. So definitely play with those first.
Yeah, especially if it's, like we said, it's been a while, especially if it's a new feature that you have never used, definitely test it out. Get comfortable with it. You want to know how to handle anything that might happen, not that things usually go wrong, but you don't want things to go wrong.
Well, it's more like The last thing you want to do is the night before an event decide you want to play with one of the new features and
Yeah.
then realize, oh, wait, how do I make this look the way it looked when I watched them do it on Facebook Live? Like, we, in support, we got your back, but we don't want you to have to go through that stressful, like, oh my God, I need to talk to somebody right now. Definitely play with it a few days before. And we do have so many new features, so it's good to just take a look and make sure you haven't missed any of them. So if you want to use them, you have enough time to do that.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of you don't know, we actually did a support site scavenger hunt. Oh my God, it's a tongue twister. A couple of weeks ago, or maybe even a couple months ago at this point, that Amanda really put on, and our support site has changed a lot. So if you haven't checked that out in a while, actually, after me and Amanda are done talking, we move on right before our next speaker. We'll actually throw a link to the welcome page into the YouTube chat. We've created this really beautiful page that will help you actually get ready for your next event, answer a lot of really basic questions you might have. Any really helpful links like the SALSA file requirements, all that good stuff. So there's a lot of really good content on that page, and we'll definitely make sure to link it up for you guys so you have that handy.
Yeah. Remember when everybody's web browsers didn't just open up to Google, and like, I don't know about you, but mine always used to open up to like Yahoo or a different kind of news source, and you had all of these different like hub-based links that could send you to all of your usual places. That's what the welcome page is, except it's for SALSA. So you're going to find all those handy links, and any of that resource or information-based stuff that you use all the time, it'll be right there waiting for you.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Amanda, for talking a little bit about the new welcome page. It's so cool. You really have to check it out if you haven't checked it out. We're going to be moving back over to Amber, who's going to introduce our next speaker, and we will be back with you with more information and tips later on.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you so much, Amanda and Cameron. You guys are the best. I'm obsessed with you. Okay, next up, I have the pleasure of introducing our next speaker, who I've had the pleasure of meeting a couple of times virtually, of course. She is one of the finest photo booth owners in the entire United Kingdom, and she is here to talk to us about Pinterest. Now, I actually didn't know this, but did you guys know that a majority of couples actually spend their time planning their weddings and their events on Pinterest more than any other platform, which means this is a platform that you definitely need to be on. So today, Charlie is going to talk about how to optimize Pinterest to best drive more traffic to your website and, of course, close more deals. So please welcome the incredibly talented Charlie Williams of The Proper Booth.
Thanks, Amber. Thank you so much for having me again to give this talk. I'm super excited to be here again. So yeah, thanks for the amazing intro. By the way, finest booth owner in the UK. I'm like, that's really, really generous of you. So thanks. Yeah, so I'm here to talk about how Pinterest can change your business and really help to drive more traffic to your website and generate a ton more leads, which quite frankly is what we all want, right? So
totally.
So, should I take it away with the talk?
Take it away. It's all you, girl.
Amazing. So, as Emma said, I am the owner of The Proper Booth in the UK. But to give you a little bit of background, before I started my photo booth business, I actually worked in London for a PR and marketing firm, and most of our clients were artists and art galleries. So, interestingly enough, they were early adopters of Pinterest. Now, I don't know about you, but I love Pinterest. I got hooked on it when I was planning my own wedding, and I actually often create boards for my business for styled shoots and to gather inspiration for things like graphic design and setups and that kind of thing. And I'm sure there are so many of you who are using Pinterest for this purpose as well, as a kind of like discovery and inspiration platform. But, and it's a big but, it is so much more than a pin board for your ideas. So it's a powerful visual search engine, and the content on there lives for months and not minutes, and it's resurfaced and surfaced time and time again. So it means that any content that you were to post on your Pinterest will get a much longer shelf life than it would do on any other social platforms such as Instagram or Facebook. So today I'm going to talk to you about a few simple tips and tricks which can really help to optimize your business presence on Pinterest. It will help to drive those all important clicks to your website, which we all want. And quick disclaimer, I am by no means a Pinterest expert, but I absolutely understand, after kind of giving it a bit more attention for my own business, exactly how to it can help to increase traffic to my website. So I really hope that you'll be able to implement some of these ideas to your business Pinterest as well. So I'm going to first of all share some stats that are going to completely blow your mind about Pinterest. So yes, I'm ready for my presentation. Thank you. Can we see it yet? Thank you. So 40 million people each year, they use Pinterest to plan their wedding, which is like a nuts number of people. And actually there are nearly 900 million pins about weddings saved every single year, and 378 wedding related searches are made on Pinterest every single year. Like literally the mind boggles at these numbers. And also brides, it's their choice of social platform when planning their weddings. So 83% of brides choose it over any other platform, and that includes Instagram and Facebook. And also these guys are more kind of more frequent planners too. So if people are planning a wedding on Pinterest, they're more likely to plan several times a day over someone who is not using Pinterest at all. And also, you know, users are more likely to click on a business website on Pinterest, which I find really amazing. So, you know, they're not looking for brands necessarily. If your business pops up, they're more likely to click on and go through to your business, which is exactly what we want to do. So I guess the key message here is, if you want to drive traffic to your website, then Pinterest is a pretty solid choice to try and do that. And especially if weddings is your key demographic, you are really going to need to start taking Pinterest seriously and get it working for you. So where do we start? So because Pinterest is a visual search engine, you kind of need to treat it like a search engine, and that means optimizing your Pinterest presence. Now, I know those are words that everyone's going, oh my God, search engine optimization. It puts the fear of God into so many of us. But I'll tell you what, with a few easy steps, you can build a really good Pinterest SEO strategy and start seeing some great results kind of straight away. So the first things first, we're going to take it right back to basics. It's nothing scary, and hopefully these step-by-step instructions are going to really help you. So we're going to first of all talk about optimizing your Pinterest profile. Now, if you're using Pinterest for your business, you really need to make sure that it is actually a registered business account. Just like you would for Instagram, it needs to be the same on Pinterest. If you were to do that, you're going to have loads more benefits, okay? And these include things like being able to display your company name and your logo, access to a massive library of free marketing and resources, which is provided by Pinterest. And trust me, I've done it. They're incredible. And also the ability to verify your website too, which actually shows that you're a legitimate business. Plus, also the more important things, access to analytics and also the metrics as well. So that is why it's so important to have that business Pinterest account. So when you've done that and you're all set up, you can really start to think about filling in all your business details. And again, it sounds really basic, but you would be super surprised at how many businesses leave out all this vital information on their profile. And it's actually the best way to start optimizing your profile for Pinterest. So one of the quickest and easiest ways is to add keywords to your display name. And this is a word I'm going to be using a lot in this presentation. So I hope that you guys kind of take that away if anything else. So keywords, you're kind of wanted to use words that will accurately reflect your business and help you get discovered in relevant search inquiries on the platform. So I've actually pulled this this profile up here because it's just a really good example of them using these keywords in their business display name. So as you can see, they've got their name, the username, and then they've got family, food, photography, and crafts. Now this is 4 SEO keywords straight off the back in their display name. you kind of know exactly what this person is all about on Pinterest. I'm just going to switch you to my business Pinterest as well, so you can see mine. So this is mine, and I've kind of set it up in a similar way. So we've got our username, and then I've gone modern luxury photo booth hire. Now, photo booth hire is like a super keyword phrase. So if anything, if you don't use anything else, make sure you have photo booth in your display name in Pinterest. It is also a really good idea to, and if you're not doing this already, please do it straight away, is to use the same username across all of your social media channels and your website. So for example, we have on our Pinterest, you can see here that we have at the proper booth. On our Instagram, we are at the proper booth. Facebook is at the proper booth, and Twitter is at the proper booth. So make sure that you have consistency, because that is super important. But not only that, people split from social channel to social channel. So someone might find you on Pinterest, but then they might want to find you on Instagram as well. So you need to make sure that it's consistent so people can actually find you really, really easily. So consistency is key. That is one takeaway of anything else today. So once you've done your filled in on your bio, your display name, we're going to move on to the bio. So this is the bit that comes underneath your display name in Pinterest. So you can be as creative or as simple as you'd like, but make sure that you're still using all those strategic keywords. So to craft this amazing optimized bio, one of my little tips is to kind of draft out some text about your business and what you offer and what you do, and kind of read through it and highlight any keywords or phrases that you kind of repeat time and time again. And this is kind of the basis for what you can integrate into your Pinterest bio. So again, I've kind of pulled this example up again because she's been really clever, and she has reused some of her keywords which are in her display title into her bio. So you can see she's put family in there again, but used it in an extended way. So she's gone for a key phrase, family time. Simple recipes, which relates back to the food. Crafts is repeated again, and photography tips. So she's kind of extended that key phrase out. So a little extra little tip, which is quite clever, is because this profile is really kind of highly visible in Pinterest, why not use a call to action on it? You want to have people going to your website, so put the call to action straight on your profile. So it's a really good little tip. So once you've done your profile and you've done your bio, the next step is to claim your website on Pinterest. Now, if you're a legitimate business, it's so easy to do this. And it makes a huge difference. And here's exactly why. You can feature your URL on your profile. And you'll see that you'll get this kind of little globe icon which says that means that you're verified, which is super good. Obviously, having the URL there means that it's straight away people can click on that and go straight to your website. But also you have more access to the Pinterest metrics and the analytics, so that you can kind of keep an eye on your performance on Pinterest, and then be able to kind of build a more kind of results-driven campaign when you are feeling more confident with the platform. So you've got your name, your bio, you've got your website up on there. Now it's a social platform, right? So we need to start following some people, okay? So, I mean, I know that we don't necessarily do it in our personal accounts, but actually it's really important. And we need to keep in mind that the people that we follow on our business Pinterest accounts, you kind of want to follow them so that like-minded people are kind of going to join together. So I've kind of shown here Patagonia, who is like an outdoor clothing company. If you were to go onto Patagonia's Pinterest page, you're going to see all these recommended other brands, which is a similar thing. So your follow list will actually determine who you appear to on suggested boards on Pinterest. So if you were to pick the right people to follow, then you're going to be able to target your demographic straight away. So it's a kind of really strategic choice. So think about really hard about the people that you follow on Pinterest. So classic example, if you are going to target the wedding market on Pinterest, then following an account like Walt Disney World, for example, probably wouldn't be a great idea, unless, of course, you are targeting the wedding Disney market. Accounts such as The Knot, for example, would probably be a better choice. And again, put yourself in the shoes of your ideal client on Pinterest. Think about what they would be, the kind of accounts that they are going to be wanting to follow on Pinterest. So it goes without saying that if you have tended to use your business Pinterest account for personal planning, and we're all guilty of this, like looking up nice recipes, looking up nice interiors in your house, you need to start putting those in two separate places. Have a personal account, have a business account, because this is going to help so much more with your optimization. So now is the time to start talking about those all important pins. Now, I can't see any of you, and so I can't ask for a show of hands, but I'm pretty sure that if I ask the question, who here has spent time creating and uploading pins directly to their Pinterest account, I would hasten to guess that it's not many of you. So creating and uploading content to Pinterest will really help you to start understanding the best way to get your content and Pinterest account kind of seen and really engaged with. So if you're just repinning things on Pinterest, then you're really not using it to your benefit whatsoever. So there's a few reasons why it's really important to start uploading pins on Pinterest. And I don't just mean kind of automation either. I mean, like, if you're pushing images from your Instagram to Pinterest, that is just not going to be good for your optimization. So, and the reason why is purely size and description. So Pinterest is really key on their size ratios of their pins. So if you've never thought about the size of your photos and videos on Pinterest, then you're missing a serious trick. So the optimal ratio for a Pinterest pin is 1000 by 1500 pixels. That is absolute key. Now, you probably will remember those like super long pins that you used to see on Pinterest, which used to go on for like days if you were scrolling. And actually, those are kind of not performing anywhere near as well. And Pinterest is now actively pushing those types of pins down the search results, along with horizontal pins. So never ever post a horizontal pin to Pinterest. They will never, ever, ever get traction. However, videos, they can come in all kinds of dimensions. And actually, one of the key dimensions for a video pin is the square kind of 1000 by 1000 pixels, which is exactly the same as Instagram. So actually, if you have some videos on Instagram or Facebook, then you do actually have a better chance of competing on Pinterest with those, especially as videos are kind of shown in a square format at the top of the search results on mobile devices, which is where most people will start scrolling on Pinterest, which is why the vertical is obviously optimized for Pinterest as well. So we've got your size ratio sorted, and now it's about choosing your content for your pins. So obviously it goes without saying, keep it completely relevant. Use your website and your blog for inspiration. We have got into a habit now, if we post on our blog, on our website, that we will create a pin and then publish that to Pinterest. So we've got this kind of constant relationship with our website and our Pinterest, so we can generate that traffic back. So if you don't have a blog post though, and that's fine, I would recommend starting one. But if you don't, then think about other ways, other URLs that you can use within your website to incorporate with your pins. So for example, if you are posting a beautiful wedding that you did at the weekend, put the URL to your wedding page on your website. If you have put up a nice picture of a backdrop, link it to the backdrop section of your website. You don't always have to pin to a blog article. So we've got eye-catching pins. So how do we design them? So I'm going to say straight off the bat, you do not have to be a Photoshop whiz to design Pinterest pins. Canva, which I know that Kat talked about in her last talk, is amazing. They have a whole section with, completely dedicated to Pinterest pins and templates. And honestly, it's incredible. So check it out if you're on Canva. But the main thing with the pins is you want to make sure whatever you're promoting is center stage of your pin. So if you have written a blog about the hands-free capability of SALSA, for example, use that image, use that picture of that SALSA on there. Pinterest also really likes logos. So here are a couple I've chosen, and you can see that we've got the logos here on all of the pins, and they also really, really like text overlays as well. So Pinterest is really clever because they recognize the text in the pins, which is awesome. So it kind of is extra optimization within those pins as well. Quick little tip though, if you're adding a logo to your pin, please do not put it in this bottom right hand corner, because Pinterest puts little icons on your pins and they will no longer see the logo that you're posting. So Another great tip, which is also something that Pinterest recommends. So if you are working in an area where you have multiple languages, think about setting up pins for those different languages. So if you're in Canada and you have French clients and English clients, create a pin which is just in French. Or if you're in Florida and you have a lot of Spanish speaking clients, make a Spanish one and an English one. So there's different things you can do there. So once you design them, you want people to find them. So how do you help people find your pin? You focus on your pin title and your description. And this is where we put those keywords back into your descriptions. And the pin title is probably the most important place to do that. So keywords should cover the relevance of the pin and be as relevant to your subject as possible. It's only 100 characters, so keep it really simple and compelling. And I promise you, if you do that, you'll see these kind of come up in the search results in Pinterest. But the pin descriptions is also equally as important. So I pulled this example up because they kind of use a kind of unique way of adding their description. So rather than actually just put a kind of a fluffy description about what their pin is about, they've actually just taken the keywords and have just listed out the keywords on this pin, which is pretty simple. So if you are wanting to not worry about descriptions and focus on keywords, and this is a really simple way of doing that. So also with this pin, I'm going to show you got the logo here, you've got the text overlay, and you've also got a keyword in their logo, which is DIY for them. So, I mean, think about every aspect of your pin and make sure you get those keywords in every aspect, every chance that you can. So, if you're panicking about how on earth you can come up with like hundreds and hundreds of keywords and hashtags for your amazing pins that you're about to create, then actually Pinterest is the best place to find these keywords. So you need to use the Pinterest keyword tool, which is already there, and it doesn't cost you a single thing to look up these keywords. So, and it's in the search bar. So if you were to put in the search bar in Pinterest, so I've done an example here, I just put Photobooth in, you will see a selection of keywords and phrases provided by Pinterest, which are relevant to your search topic. So the top one here is Photobooth backdrop, you've got Photobooth ideas, you've got Photobooth props, wedding is in there, design, so all these things, and they are listed in terms of popularity as well. So this can really help to shape your ideas for your content as well. So look at what's trending on those keywords and work with that. So the other thing is, like, if you don't have many followers on Pinterest right now, then don't be afraid to actually opt for less popular keywords, because the chances are you're going to have less competition in the search engine for those keywords too. So for example, you might want to put your location. So if you're based in San Diego, you could put San Diego photo booth in your descriptions or your titles. So think about it like that as well. And the other thing is that 90% of searches on Pinterest are not brand related, which means that people aren't searching for brands on Pinterest. They are searching for generic inquiries. So it means that you have such a great chance of making sure that your content is seen on this platform. So lots of information. My final point is be consistent. So if you are to follow the best SEO practices on Pinterest, so using all those keywords as much as you can, building images which are specifically created for Pinterest, the Pinterest algorithm is going to really learn what you are all about, and ultimately going to kind of bring your profile and content more to the forefront in these search engines as people are scrolling. And there is no such thing as too much activity on Pinterest. Like, literally post as much as you possibly can, and it becomes addictive. So, you know, you'll enjoy it after a while. And yes, I mean, those consistent SEO messages is absolutely key. So Pinterest is like an amazing platform because it's more evergreen than any other social platform, which kind of means that if you put together a really good SEO strategy, your pins could be circulating for like 12 months or more. Think about how many people join and plan their weddings. If you've got a amazing wedding SEO strategy on Pinterest, those pins are going to come up time and time again when people are searching for their wedding planning, which is amazing. Now, I could literally talk for hours and hours and hours about Pinterest, and there's so much more I could cover, but I've kind of done the basics, so you can really start to try and boost your engagement and your profile on Pinterest just by using these really simple tips. And if you're really interested in finding out more, then definitely check out the Pinterest Academy and their business resources, because it's a wealth of information. They also have an amazing news desk as well. They often post about kind of trend predictions for the year, wedding trend reports on Pinterest, and a seasonal predictions calendar as well. So you can really start to form a social strategy around Pinterest too. So that's it for me. I really hope that this talk has helped to open up your eyes to Pinterest and how it can work for your business too.
Awesome. Charlie, thank you so much. I genuinely had no idea how valuable Pinterest really was. And my mind was kind of blown from everything that you shared. So we do have some questions if you have some time for a little Q&A.
Sure.
So I'm going to dive right into those because these are some really good questions. So the first question comes from Wendy and Sam. They're asking, can you tell us some of the accounts that you follow? So just going back to the importance of who we're following.
So my Pinterest strategy is mainly wedding based. So I focus mainly on wedding kind of accounts. So I follow things like The Knot, Wedding Chicks, Junebug Weddings, all of those accounts, and also some kind of wedding DIY accounts as well, because obviously a lot of people are looking at wedding DIY stuff on Pinterest. So it's really good to kind of connect with those accounts, and then you're more likely to get seen yourself.
Totally. So kind of identifying your niche or the types of events that you're doing and then finding those accounts that fit into it.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly right. Yeah.
And guys, this is like, she's giving you all of her secrets. I hope you are taking notes. Okay. Next question comes from Tasha Robinson. She's asking, does it cost anything for the business account on Pinterest? Are there any like fees or charges associated with that?
It is absolutely free. All you need to have is a legitimate business with your business URL, and you can verify that business and you can be flying with your Pinterest business account. Honestly, it is the best thing to do. And like I said, make sure you have that business and personal completely separate too.
Beautiful. It is free 99, Miss Tasha. Okay, perfect. So the next question comes from Lily. She's asking, how can you successfully market to people in your location? Like, for example, how can I avoid getting leads from a location that she doesn't serve?
So this all kind of comes down to your overall SEO strategy on Pinterest. So again, using these keywords. So if you want to kind of target your local market on Pinterest, you need to start using those words in your keywords. So if you're based, like I'm based in the UK, I'm in a county called Somerset. So a lot of the stuff we use has got Somerset in it, or South England, or UK. So those are keywords that you need to use, and that's going to really help the Pinterest algorithm kind of put you in with all the right people and bring you up in those searches as well.
So smart. So smart. Okay, follow-up question. Is this your focus out of all of your social media accounts? So of all the social sites you're on, do you tend to focus on Pinterest? And if so, how many people would you say reach out to you from your pins or your Pinterest account?
So Pinterest is a social platform that we've had for a long time. But I'm going to be totally honest with you. It was lockdown that made me focus on Pinterest because I had time to do it. I love Instagram as a social platform, and it's really nice, and we have a great network on there. But actually, the real kind of juicy stuff is on Pinterest. So what I've seen is that the leads don't necessarily come straight from You are welcome. Thanks for having me.
Hey everyone. Yeah,
Hey guys.
it's so crazy. I was surprised. I was, I've never really thought of Pinterest as like a genuine option for marketing your business, but I mean, Charlie made a bunch of really great points.
Yeah, Charlie's presentation was amazing. So was her backdrop, by the way. I love that one.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, if you think about it, it makes complete sense because who doesn't plan every event using Pinterest in one way or another, right? So you definitely want to meet those customers where they are.
Yeah, for sure. It's just crazy. And I mean, this really goes into what Amanda and I were talking about earlier about really prepping and getting ready before this big surge of events. And whether it's posting on Pinterest or Facebook or Instagram, I mean, you really got to get out there and keep posting and be very consistent and update all your socials.
Definitely making sure that everything is up to date so that when people do want to book you, they know how to find you. That's actually a really important part of event prep itself, because you kind of have to look at the event that you're going to as a marketing opportunity too. You're going to have so many people exposed to your business and your booth, and you're going to want to make sure that when they are impressed with your incredible event, that when they go out to find you and book you, all of the information that they need is there and it's accurate.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, the other thing too is a lot of people, you know, they're going to see your brand, they're going to see your name at the event, and they might not go to your website right away. They might not call you right away, but they might go to your social media and check you out, especially if they're looking for pictures from that event. So definitely make sure that your social media, like I said, whether it's Pinterest or Instagram or Facebook, is up to snuff, because you want people to have a great first impression right away.
And like has already been said by everybody, consistency is key. So do make sure that everything across the board is consistent, not just in being correct, like making sure that the phone number and the email address are all up to date, your links are working properly, but pay attention to your branding too. I know by talking to a lot of people in the community that the number of rebrands that people go through to kind of test things out, maybe they're bored, maybe they just haven't found the right fit yet. When you are going over all of your social media outlets and other things like your website, make sure that you don't have one of them not matching the other. Like maybe you forgot to update your website's logo to match your social media. Everything should be super consistent. So that should absolutely be part of that checklist that you go over while you're prepping before your event. It just it makes every bit of difference. One of the most important parts of branding is building trust in you and your business. And if you have anything that's inconsistent, it's going to make you look less professional, less reliable, just like you have it less together.
People pick up on it too. Easy.
Yeah, even if they don't know it, they definitely know that they are looking at something that just doesn't seem right. So
yeah, definitely. Awesome. Well, we're going to transition back to Amber so that she can introduce our next guest.
Yay.
Gosh, lots of tongue twisters today. So we will catch you in the next one, guys. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
As always, thank you, Amanda and Cameron. You guys are the best. I have the pleasure of introducing our next speaker in the lineup today. And this is an extremely important and often completely foreign topic for many of us. And that's going to be contracts. So today we have the incredible Erin Ars Stark joining us to teach us about contractual clauses that we should all be familiar with as we embark into this new events landscape. So Erin Stark, he is the founder of Stark Law LLC. This is a law firm that serves businesses, artists, consumers, and others across a range of practices such as business, contracts, copyrights, trademarks, general litigation. Now, these clients have come to expect a collaborative and creative approach to achieving their goals. You guys are going to want to take notes for this one too. So please, without further ado, welcome Erin Ars Stark.
Thank you, Amber, and thank you everyone for joining in. Welcome to the short but sweet presentation on how to make your contracts rock solid. I had a great introduction, but my name is Erin Ars Stark. I'm an attorney. I'm based in Washington, D.C., but I serve clients all over the United States and internationally. I've been an attorney for about 7 years now, and my main focus is photographers and anything photo related, which also includes photo booth owners. I've had many matters over the years with photo booth owners and photo booth manufacturers as well. So I know a lot of I have a lot of experience in the issues that that photo booth owners face on a day-to-day basis. And one of those key pieces of information that photo booth owners really need is what goes in their contracts. So today we're going to talk about some of the basics that every contract should have. The contract should be between, you, the photo booth owner, and your client. So we're talking about that service contract for your photo booth. So we're going to talk about the basics, what really every contract should include, certain clauses, and then we're going to move into certain specific contractual clauses that have really been relevant, especially during the pandemic. Specifically, what needs to go into your contract now, dealing with cancellations, dealing with reschedules, and also any and the force majeure, unexpected events that we have become all too familiar with. So going forward, hopefully we don't have another pandemic for a long, long time or ever again. But these types of issues that have come up over the past year are going to only make your contract better, because you'll be prepared for anything else that comes your way. And then the next issue we're going to talk about that has to deal with a contract are, what are some of the reasons why photo booth owners either have been sued or have had the threat of litigation, and what we could include in your contract to avoid that type of liability. So let's jump in. Okay, so every photo booth contract should have these basic elements. The first thing really is to identify the parties. And I know that sounds basic or simple, but it actually can create some issues. You want to know who you are dealing with. A lot of times, especially for weddings, you have your client, which may be the people who are getting married, it should be, but then someone else is paying. So I get a lot of questions about, okay, well, if someone else is paying, are they the client? So you want to make sure the person you're providing the services for is the named identified party in your contract, not the person who's paying. So you want to be able to identify the parties in your contract. Next, you want to detail the scope of work. When are you going to show up? What time do you have to be there in order to set up? How long are you going to be there? Are you going to have an attendant there, someone manning the photo booth, or is it just going to be a freestand photo booth and you're going to leave and come back? Also, what happens if the photo booth doesn't work and there's an issue? How is that going to work? So you want to detail that type of scope in your contract. Next, you want to really outline the roles and responsibilities of yourself, but also more importantly of your clients, because this is a little different than doing wedding photography or something like this. You're bringing a very expensive piece of machinery to an event or a wedding. You need to be able to have access, level ground, and you need to make sure that if there's weather outside that's going to harm your photo booth, that you're going to be in a covered area. Those are the types of responsibilities that really should go on your client, but you need to address those with your client ahead of time. You're going to need power and possibly Wi-Fi, all of those things. Think about all those things that are essential to you providing your service, and make sure those are outlined specifically in your agreement. So that way, if they are not performed, then you have some limit of liability there that you're not going to have to, it's not going to be essentially your fault. So next, you're going to want to, list the costs and expenses. You're going to want to address how much things cost, what happens if you end up having to stay longer, or if the event doesn't start at the time you want it to start, or the time that it's contracted to start. The other issue is something that's possibly overlooked is the expense in getting to where you're going. You're going to be carrying a heavy, you have a lot of equipment. You may need to have some sort of valet if it's at a hotel. You maybe if it's going to be inside of a paid event, you need to make sure you can get access inside. So those, or if the event is far away from your principal place of business, you're going to be traveling. You want to make sure that those expenses are laid out in your agreement as well. Your client knows going into it, okay, what is this really going to cost? Next, you want to describe how and who owns the work. This is a very interesting topic. I'm going to touch on it briefly later, but basically, unlike a photographer, someone else is actually taking the picture. The user is taking the picture. So really, who owns the photo, and what can you do with that photo? And then what can your client, the person who booked you for the event, what can they do with the photo? So you want to make sure that's spelled out in your agreement as well. Next, you want to limit your liability. Again, this is actually something very particular to photo booth owners, different than other types of vendors, is that you're dealing with something that has a lot of electricity, can tip over. Sometimes things get a little rowdy at these events. So you want to make sure that your liability is limited in case of if something goes wrong, if someone gets hurt. And then also too, if you can't show up for whatever reason, you want to make sure those types of things are addressed in your contract, and then also a process about what to do if those things happen. In the end, you want the boilerplate stuff as well. Mainly you want, if you rather have arbitration than go to court if there's some breach of your contract. That needs to be laid out there. You may be traveling a lot to different places, and if you're traveling a lot to different places, you could theoretically be sued in each place you go if something bad were to happen. So you want to make sure that if God forbid you do end up getting someone sues, you want to make sure at least you can deal with that lawsuit where you live and not have to travel someplace wherever this accident may have occurred. So those are the boilerplate type things you need in your agreement at the end. And then, of course, we have this issue of COVID, which hopefully we're coming out of it. But, it did change the contractual landscape some, and it has really put a lot of attention on contracts in general. So we're going to talk about how to address those types of issues, these unexpected type issues too. I just threw a lot of information at you. You can actually download this photo booth contract checklist. At my website, there's a link or an address at the bottom, stark.law/photobooth. I have a free download of this photo booth contract checklist. So you can go there, you can download this, and you can compare and make sure that your contract hits all of these points. And if it doesn't, you can always reach out to me, and I can help you out and see what it is that your contract needs. All right, so going into this pandemic and all these issues that have caused, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the cancellations that you've gotten over the last year. Now, normally when you get a cancellation, your contract should have a cancellation clause. And in that cancellation clause, for any sort of general cancellation, it should have a process about how a cancellation should be made. So for example, you should identify can someone call you up and cancel? Do they have to send an email? So the process in which to cancel, and then what happens in return? Do you send a confirmation email? Do you send a cancellation agreement? Both of those are fine, but you want to make sure that you specify, or confirm that this event has been canceled and that you are freed from any obligation. But the other issue that comes up is the retainer or deposit, which I like to refer to as a booking fee. So the booking fee, generally in your contract, states that it's non-refundable. So a booking fee, or you may have it in your contract as a retainer or deposit, is basically a small sum of money. It's a percentage of your overall total price, and it's used to cover your administrative costs, but also to retain your services and book you and make sure that you are going to perform and provide your services on a specific date. So they're holding that date. That's what that money is used for, to hold that date. So in general, when someone cancels, usually that booking fee is non-refundable. It means that you've held the date, you provide administrative services, you have a right to keep that initial percentage of payment toward the total amount that was due. But what's happening lately is that people have been canceling because they've been unable, it's been prohibited, it's been against the law to have weddings or to have events with a lot of people. So in that situation, do you have the right to keep that booking fee? That's where your contract comes in. You need to make sure in your agreement that it states, for any reason, if you want to keep that booking fee, right, for any reason, that if for any reason, you need to make sure that whether there's a pandemic, epidemic, earthquake, any sort of act of God whatsoever, that booking fee is non-refundable. Because when your contract doesn't state that, even if it says, hey, the booking fee is non-refundable, but you do not list out certain specific events, unexpected events that could come up, preventing a contract from happening. Because remember, this is, in a sense, it's really not a cancellation. It's just the contract is prevented from actually being performed. If you don't have a clause in there that details what's going to happen in that situation when the contract cannot be performed because of an unexpected event, then general contract principles are going to apply. And those general contract principles state that, hey, if it's impossible to perform on the contract, you got to give back the money. So you need to make sure that your booking fee says earned once received, and that you list out, if there are unexpected events, things that are preventing from the contract from actually taking place out of anybody's control, then XYZ happens. Either the booking fee is kept or it's applied to another date, but you need to spell that out. Now, a lot of contracts over the past year that I've looked at for people didn't have that spelled out in their agreement. So they ended up having the threat of litigation. People wanted those deposits back. It's better. That's why your contract is so important. You want to really address these common issues. So another issue too is that when someone reschedules. So a lot of times, thankfully, a lot of people were able to get their prevent cancellations and allow people to have people reschedule. So under general circumstances, you should have a rescheduling policy. So putting COVID and pandemic things aside, you should have a rescheduling policy as well. In that, you should outline how people can reschedule. I know it sounds basic and simple, but it's true. You need to have a process. So what I recommend is that reschedules have to happen. People have to make it through email. So there's a written record. You send an addendum to the contract, because now you are making a modification to the contract. You're changing the contract service date. So that needs to be stated that the contract is now going to be no longer performed on X date and will be performed on Y date. So that's an addendum that sends to your client. And what also should be included in that is whether you're going to have a rescheduling fee. Because remember, if you're getting a rescheduling, it's almost effectively like a cancellation, right? Because that date that you had reserved for them, you may have turned away a bunch of other business. This rescheduling request could have come last minute. There's no way to try to go back to these people, your potential clients, people who inquired, to try to rebook for that date. So you've lost out on that date. And now they want to book you for another date. And what if they do the same thing again? And they reschedule again and again and again. So I recommend to my clients that you have a fee, essentially another booking fee. I call it a rescheduling fee that you would have your clients pay in order to reschedule. And then plus they have to cover any sort of travel arrangements. If you booked a hotel, if you had take a flight to wherever you're going, now you have change fees and all these things associated with the rescheduling, then that your client is going to, because of their request of wanting to change the date, they're responsible for covering the expenses associated with that change. But those types of matters, those issues need to be laid out in your contract. So under this rescheduling clause, you have a cancellation clause, rescheduling clause. So just think about in your own in your own business, how is it that you handle these issues? What works for you? And then put that in writing and have it as a part of your contract. Now, if people are rescheduling because of COVID-19, some other unexpected problem, then in that situation, you may want to not obviously invoke the rescheduling fee, and you may want to have your own separate policy in that situation. So what I did over this last year is I created a lot of COVID type policies where that was specific to each individual photo booth owner, what worked for them, but normally if they had a rescheduling fee, they didn't charge the client that, but then they limited the days that they could reschedule the services only to certain days of the week. So that way, full paying clients weren't they could get full paying clients on those really popular dates. So they didn't want to, because I know a lot of these reschedules happened and it pushed them into the following year. And that would have been a whole new source of revenue for the photo booth owner that now they were unable to get because all their past work was now pushed off. And they weren't able to book other people. So you want to make sure that you can pick certain dates. Hey, you guys can reschedule, but you're limited to, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, or whatever. So those are things you want to think about if another event like this comes up. But you do want some sort of policy in place, because like I said, when you don't have policies in place, when you don't have this laid out in your contract, that's where your client may go get an attorney and they're going to pick apart your contract and they're going to say, hey, your contract didn't address this. So, we're going to go this way and you're going to have to give me back the money or whatever. So you just want to make sure things are laid out in your agreement. The other issue. So going to contracts and lawsuits that I've dealt with the last couple of years and things that really come up with photo booth owners. One of them is text messaging. This is really important because this is there's an area, it's just area of law dedicated for to lawyers who like to go after these types of cases. So when the user takes their photo, generally they enter in their phone number to get that photo email or get that photo texted to them. Some of those photo booths you can keep track of all of these phone numbers, and you could actually send them solicitations to marketing type messages to anybody who used your photo booth and entered in their phone number. You have this whole Rolodex of potential clients. Sounds like a good idea, mass marketing, targeted marketing, but you can't really do it. You can't do it unless you get specific consent, permission from the user of the photo booth. Okay, there is a federal law, telecommunications law, that prevents you from sending targeted marketing messages without consent. So the first message that's sent is consented to because the photo booth user entered in their phone number, asked for the photo to get sent. But if there's this follow-up, there needs to be some sort of, so when you send that photo, when that photo is sent, if you do want to continually send messages, when you send that photo, there should be some sort of disclaimer that says, hey, you'll be getting marketing messages from us. To opt out, press 9 or whatever. So that's an issue. And that's something that kind of is a little bit outside of your contract. You can't really contract around that. What you can contract around, though, is if you are not going to send these text messages, but your client, the person who is booking you for these services, wants this information. This happens a lot too. A lot of these photo booths are used in events, and these events, the people who are hosting them see the people who are attending these events as possible customers for them as well. And this is a way for them to get their information and send them marketing material. And they may ask you for this information. So you have to think about this. You have an option. You do not have to provide it. But if you do provide it, you're going to want to have a contract here that places the liability on your client and limits you from that liability, and that it's and that you are stating in your contract that it is your client's responsibility to obtain consent to send marketing messages or any type of message to the users of the photo booth. You're putting that on them. And then you also want an indemnification type clause that says if you are sued by violation of this law, this telecommunications law, or whatever or for some other reason in relation to this unwanted text message, that your client will actually indemnify you. They will step in and they'll say, hey, come after us. We're the responsible party. You want that in your agreement if your client wants this. But the safest way is to not collect this information and actually not give this information. Just see your photo booth as a way for people to take pictures, have fun, and then not worry about getting bombarded with texts. I know, or later on, unless you are really going to get consent. The safest way is to not do anything. Next safest way is for you to actually get the consent yourself from the user. So something you want to keep an eye out for. I have dealt with cases about this. It's very popular with these types of photo booths where they are getting text messages. Okay. Next, other big main litigation issue relates to your contract is the model release. So some of you are actual photographers too. You go out, you photograph events and weddings. So you know a lot about model releases. A model release is essentially the subject of the photo gives the photographer permission to use that photo for commercial purposes, for example. So for marketing, for anything. We all as people have a right to protect our own likeness and how it's used. People do not have the right to use us to sell a certain product or to make it look like we endorse a certain product. So if you want to use someone's likeness, if you want to use the person you have the photo of to sell your product or to advertise your photo booth, you need permission to do that. So this is another issue where your photo booth, you have the ability to collect these images. I'm sure you have a gallery set up at the end, which is totally fine, and a gallery, and it's something that's available online and probably stays up. But you might see these photos and say, hey, I'm going to take a couple of these photos and I'm going to make a Facebook, post and try to market my photo booth business and use this for that. The problem is when you go that route, you are using these photos to market your own business. And unless you got permission to do that, you could have problems. So a way to go about to address this is to get consent. What you could do if you intend and if you really want to use these photos for marketing or have the option to market, you could have a disclaimer. I know it kind of kills the mood, but you could have a notice disclaimer next to the photo booth that says, hey, by using this photo booth, you are allowing us to use these images for commercial purposes. Certain states, this is all a state law issue though. Certain states might require that model releases are actually signed. So putting a notice may not be enough, but it would be, it's a step in the right direction and it could work in certain states. But the safest bet is honestly, and I hate to say it, is to not use them unless you get actual permission. So the other issue though, and this is where your contract comes in, is your client sees these photos and let's say it's an event and it shows their product being used. So let's say, they're selling something, selling beer or something, some sort of type of beer. And people are drinking it in the photo booth and they're like, hey, this would be great advertising for us. You photo booth owner, can you give us these photos? And you can provide them the photos. It's that you haven't done and you publish the photos. You can provide them the photos, but you, just like with the text messaging and providing personal information, you want to spell out the rights and responsibilities with that information. So if you're giving these images to your clients, you need to make sure that it states that your clients are responsible for obtaining permission if they're going to use it for commercial purposes. Your clients will indemnify you if you are sued or there's a threat of litigation for violation of someone's likeness. So for using their photo without a model release, you need to make sure that's in there and spelled out. So like I said, safest bet is to not do that. If you are, then because I understand that, you're going to have to put that on your client to make sure that they obtain all the proper clearance for using those images, because it comes up a lot. But don't be too worried. I mean, you can have these images on your website. You can have them as a portfolio. You can have them, but it's when you start using them for commercial purposes is when you could get into hot water. So it's best to get that permission first. So those are those litigation matters come up a lot. Text messages, model releases, the contract, the rescheduling, and the cancellations are issues that always come up. You just need to make sure those are rock solid. You spell out the process, and then what you're going to do if something unexpected comes up. I used, when I drafted these many years ago, I would put these force majeure clauses in my contracts, and I would think, oh God, this is never gonna happen, but it's got to go in there. And I'm glad it's in there. So thank you guys, and I'll take some questions if you have any. And there's a photo booth you guys can download, or you guys can come to my website, get 20% off a contract review if you need your contract reviewed by us.
Amazing. Aaron, thank you so much. I learned so much in like 30 minutes. So that was incredible. We definitely have some questions that we want to dive into. But one thing I wanted to mention, since you were talking about getting consent from every person using the booth, we actually have a photo disclaimer on the photo booth that pops up before the capture experience. And that is completely customizable. So they can change the messaging to suit those needs. But let's get into some of these questions because they're so good. Okay, so first question, deposit, retainer, processing fee. I'll call it a purple people eater if I have to. How do I keep the money that they put down to reserve the booth? What is important to know here?
So what's important to know is you really want to spell out why this money is non-refundable. So that way, if the contract is ever challenged, the judge or the opposing counsel on the other side, the attorney, sees why it is that you get to keep this. So one, administrative cost is an issue. The time it takes sending your contract out, going back and forth with your client, getting some basic information, administrative issues. So that payment goes towards that. But it's also to reserve the date, because photo booth owners operate in a space where they need to count on being able to get that, going to that event on a certain date. It's a future job that's coming up. And so you are turning away because of that, you're turning away other business because you reserved it for that. And so that is a reasonable forecast of your damages that you would suffer if your client canceled on you because you turned away other business. So you're saying, hey, we're all agreeing here that, because you canceled on me, I get to keep this because I had to turn other business because I kept my promise by holding the date for you. And you're the one that has canceled on me. So that's why. So yeah, definitely. So word that out in your contract, and you can there are examples, and like I said, I can help you. And we do offer contract reviews, so I can definitely set you straight on that stuff. But you definitely want to just, if you're going to do it yourself, write out. It doesn't need to be paragraphs, but write out why that is important to you to keep that.
Perfect. So spell it out. Your time is worth something too.
Yep.
Okay, next question from Coral. She's asking, how can I address the removal of, this word is so hard for me. Give me a second. Indemnity clause. So how can she address the removal of indemnity clause?
So how can you address it or?
That's what she says. How can I address the removal?
Are pretty standard in contracts. And so it's not something that's completely out of the ordinary. But one thing you want to know, what I would tell clients is like, hey, we're offering a service where a lot of things can happen. We're at an event, a wedding. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of partying and this and that. And I need to make sure that I'm not going to be suffering all this liability for every single reason. So if I'm going to be sued and it has to do with something that happened at your event, you should step in and help me out. And if I'm going to be sued because you're asking me to provide you with certain information, like the photographs, the phone numbers, certain things that could potentially get me in trouble, but I'm doing it on your behalf. I can't take the heat for that. You have to take the heat for that. So as a result, you should really step in and help me out here if something happens. You're not doing anything illegal by doing that, but you're just saying, hey, I shouldn't be taking the blame for doing something that you want to do, so that's
sure. Makes total sense. Okay, next question. I get this question a ton actually, so I'm so excited to hear what you have to say. So how about when somebody is at an event and they get too drunk and they topple over your photo booth and something happens to your photo booth? Are they liable for damages, and how do you go about that?
That is a great question. So yes, they can be liable because they damaged your photo booth. So
Right.
you damaged your personal property. So on a general matter, yeah, someone damages your personal property that is no fault of your own, they can matter. That can happen. But this is where in the limit of liability, you want to address certain and the roles and responsibilities of your client. That is a very important thing to address, and I'm so happy for that question because that guest may not want to pay, and so something you may want to do is pass that on. And this is where you just have to be open, honest with your client. It's like, hey, we're hosting this event. There's gonna be a lot of drinking and partying. It's gonna be a great time. But if one of your guests topple over my photo booth and damage it, you're gonna be liable. So I'm gonna let you. The damage is gonna be passed on to you because we're coming there for you. And what you're paying us doesn't cover the cost of our equipment. So, and unfortunately, if there's this, we're gonna invoice you. So we should all be on the same page about that. And so that's something that you can talk about. And that's I've never gotten, my clients in my experience have gotten pushback when they do that, because that's pretty understandable to do that. Yeah. So that's how you want to do that. So totally look at that. And also limit liability real quickly. You want to limit liability because if it does topple over and it lands on someone and it hurts them, if it wasn't negligent on the photo booth owner's part, you want to, that's where that indemnification limited liability, you say, hey, if someone gets injured from this, the liability is on you, not on us, unless, we were negligent or something like that. So, so you want to address that type of stuff because that can happen,
Totally. Okay, cool. Let's do maybe one or two more questions. So this is a good one. Is there an average cost or process for your firm or other firms to help us enhance our current contract? Photobooth Supply Co gives us a good start, but it seems that there might be more needed. So for context, when everyone purchases a booth with us, we give them a sample contract that we explained is a foundational contract. But of course, we recommend, hey, sit down with a lawyer and make sure that this suits all the needs of your business. So is there an average cost or process that your firm has?
So yeah, we do. So we do contract reviews on a flat fee. So it's $675. I have this 20% discount on that review. So I think it's not good at math. I think 540, it comes to 540. So what we do is we either take your existing agreement, and if you don't have an agreement at all, that's totally fine too. We take your existing agreement. We like to look at it so we can kind of see what is really important to you. Every photo booth user has certain things that are important to them about how they operate, how they collect payments, if they require some sort of consultation. So we want to get that information. We take it, we reformat everything because it's usually, I want to put it in a nice logical, cohesive order. And then we look for the weaknesses, based on my experience, all the things that I've had to deal with. I know, what contracts need. And then we put in there, we redraft the language, we make it stronger. I send that agreement to the photo booth, to my client, to the photo booth owner, usually like in a Google Doc, a shareable document. We go over it together step by step because a lot of people just they have these terms in their contract, but they don't really know what they mean. And so I answer every single question they have. I'm on the phone with them for however long it takes. We go through everything I've done, and then I finalize it, and then they're on their way. And I'm always available too after that for if they have other questions. Sometimes they forget what something means or why something is worded a separate way because their client is asking about it. So they email me, I email them right back, and it's totally fine. So that's how it works. So it's a flat fee. I don't know what other law firms do or other people do. I'm sure it could be flat fee as well, but that's how we do it. And based off of the hours that we spend and everything like that, that's why the price is what it is.
Amazing. Awesome. Aaron, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and walk us through all of that. Guys, if you didn't see, stark.law/photobooth, and then that code is PB20 if you want to get 20% off. Let Aaron help you out if you have any other questions about your contracts. Aaron, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. What a great thing. Thank you guys.
We appreciate you. All right, guys, back to Cameron and Amanda.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Aaron, for giving us so much information. I mean, when it comes to contracts and things like that, it gets complicated. So any clarity that we and everybody else can get on the situation is always super helpful. So like me and Amanda were talking about before, we're going to talk a little bit more about prepping for your event. It might seem like we're really going on about it, but it's because there's actually a lot more than a lot of people might think.
There is a lot more than people generally think. And I think that it's important to make sure that you have all of those smaller details covered too.
Sure.
I mean, To be fair, I'm kind of the person that has their car packed with like the emergency kit of supplies, and like I'm definitely the person that always has a snack in their bag with them if you get hungry. But this is still really important to be prepared for. So speaking about snacks, if you guys watch the PBSCO Academy video, I know Catalina talked about event etiquette, and part of that is that eating at an event, like when the caterer might offer you food, or even if the the host offers you something to eat, it's really not cool to do that. So as part of your event prep, it's a really good idea to eat before the event so that you don't get hungry during, and you don't get tempted to sneak one of those canapes off of the plate.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I mean, and if you absolutely like, if you know it's going to be a long day, and it's going to be a long event, and you absolutely have to bring a snack, that's okay as well. Don't eat it at your booth. Take it away. Eat it somewhere else.
You know, put like a gone fishing sign or some such on your booth, and then just step away. Like it doesn't even have to be that far, just so you're not standing right next to the booth. And make sure that it's a portable, like easy to eat snack, so that if you do get pulled back into action unexpectedly, like you're ready to go.
Yeah.
What's your favorite snack, Cameron? Like your go-to, like emergency snack? I know, it's hard.
Peanut butter and banana. Peanut butter and banana.
On what? You can't just eat that plain.
On bread. Yeah, I bring a jar of peanut butter and a single banana, and I just.
This is exactly what I'm picturing. So I'm glad that you clarified. My personal favorite is, I know that this is like kind of like a jerk thing to say, but I really love those fancy protein bars, like the RX bars. The blueberry one is my favorite, or like one of the. I know, but snacking is really important. If you guys are in the comments right now and you want to let us know what your favorite snacks are,
definitely.
I want suggestions, because I'm always looking for ways to, spice it up, so to speak.
Yeah, no, for sure. Give us your favorite snacks in the chat while we get ready for our next speaker. And I did see a question that somebody asked about an event prep. So we will send out a link to an event prep checklist at the very end. So awesome. We are going to be moving over to Amber again to introduce our next guest.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Amanda and Cameron. Okay, guys, next up, we have somebody that I actually met only a couple of weeks ago, but I was immediately impressed with him. Jonathan Zhao has been in the marketing space for over 20 years and in the events industry for over 15 years. So he is a seasoned, creatively minded digital marketing professional with expertise in integrated marketing, event marketing, product design, marketing strategy, and implementation. So Jonathan has helped grow brands through creative experiences and delight customers even during a pandemic. And today he is here to talk to us about what we should know moving forward about planning and executing events during a pandemic. So please welcome Jonathan Zhao.
Thank you so much, Amber. That was a great introduction. How are you doing, everyone? I know it's like the lunch hour, so I'm sure some meal. So before we get to it, I know I have a pretty large presentation, and I know there's going to be a lot of Q&As on this. So I'll try to hop on through that presentation pretty quick, so that way we will have time for Q&A. So if we can we queue up that presentation? Perfect. Awesome. So so as Amber said, we're talking about how to do events in a pandemic. And basically, I was kind of asked to talk about this since right now I am living in Austin, Texas. Our company started off in Texas. And so we have different restrictions and different kinds of mandates in other parts of the world and other parts of the United States. So we also have offices in other states. And in those states, it's way more restricted. So we don't have nearly quite the breadth and depth of events. So let's go ahead and just talk about what we're going to talk about the session, then go into these some of the talking points. So we're going to talk about events then and now, and then kind of like the transition, which is where we're at, and the strategies on how to do the events, and we'll open up for Q&A. I know I've been watching some of the speakers so far, and it seems like Q&A seems to go a little bit over, so I'm going to try to accommodate for that. So moving on, as everyone knows, like before March 2020 last year, or March and last year, right? It was the good times, right? We had so many events. 2019, I'm sure, for holiday parties for people, December, it was just crazy for everyone. It was just amazing, right? And then we get into this point at last year, a little bit about 1 year ago, right? In March 2020, that's when the pandemic hits, huge events start getting canceled. One of the largest ones is actually my own backyard, South by Southwest. Canceled, we lose a ton of events. Everyone's revenue starts going up, stops going upwards, and then starts going downwards, if not even just going negative, right? So, and the main thing is we suddenly had laws and legislation saying, oh, we can't even have gatherings, we can't hold events. You know, it's actually impossible to have a large event. So, and now we're kind of this weird state where some places still it's hard to get together, and some places you can. So let's talk about how why we're thinking the return of events is happening. So there's a blog called Event MB that polled people last year in November, and 30% of these event professionals, and most of these people were planners, believe that in-person events will return the second half of 2021. And this is kind of like we're a little bit earlier, and 30% are betting on Q3, while 27.5 believe it will return in Q2. So we're still in Q1, right at the very end. April marks Q2. So we're actually starting off pretty early into how events are rolling out. I know Florida and Texas have a lot of events. There's even conferences happening. And I know other states are gradually opening up. So even then, we talk, not in large corporate world, even in weddings. The Knot did a survey last year for couples, and they saw that 47% of couples that had weddings rescheduled to 2021. So you're seeing now the 2021 normal weddings in 2021 being scheduled, and all those reschedules of 2020 moving to 2021. So there's going to be a huge consolidation of those events happening this year, not only and as well as next year, right? So I think that's also a good indicator that we're going to be seeing a lot of events happening, both in the corporate, social, and the wedding world. And then, as we all know, within the news, more vaccines are rolling out. We have Moderna, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson just got announced as well. And that leads into how 51% of event planners really think that what's going to make them feel really confident about making any kind of events live is really the vaccines and rolling out. So we're getting to the point where vaccines are going to be readily available. We had the administration announce like they're hoping by May it'll be readily available to anyone. I know here, I live in Austin, Texas. They just announced March 29th in Texas, any adult, no restrictions required, can get a vaccine. You didn't have to have any complications. So hopefully other states as well will be following suit. So we're now in this really awkward phase of where events weren't really happening and then kind of start rolling out, and we're in this weird transition period, right? So I call this a transition period, and this is kind of how I refer to it as with our clients, because while we have events, you notice in the photo, this is from an actual live event recently, our staff is all masked up, our attendees are masked up. Some places, even if we're doing photo ops, they can't even, they have to wear a mask, right? So right now I had a mask on earlier, and they still have to wear a mask even while taking the photo. So it's a weird transition period depending on where you're at. And then it's going to be even weirder as we get events that are larger with more people intermingling between states. And each state has like a different regulation. So really, we're looking at what do our customers really want? And they all really just want to go back to having live events. But the issue is how do they have it safely and responsibly, right? Is how are they going to be able to have these events in a way where they're not going to get any kind of backlash from their constituents or backlash from people that support their brands, or just backlash from friends and family. I know a lot of people, maybe you're posting on Instagram, when you post an event without a mask, you kind of have to like caption saying, hey, this was an event done before the pandemic, or, you know, sometimes people get really snarky on your page, right? So those kind of things, people want to have those events, and they just want to make sure that they're just not going to be held accountable in a bad way, right? They don't want to get quote unquote canceled or anything like that. So the strategy is really just taking ownership as an event professional. Your role, regardless if you're just a vendor, even though you're not the planner, but your real role is to make sure that you know as much as possible about COVID-19 regulations, your local laws, and being able to execute an event safely. Because the thing about being part of this industry right now is anything that anyone does in any state is going to actually affect anyone else. So if we're not executing events safely, say in Texas, that could potentially cause another spike, another surge, and then it might spread on outwards. So the same kind of thing happens from any point of view that you're coming from. So I think everyone in the industry needs to think more as a collective, because our role together is to make sure we can bring the events industry up, and then go back to those times where you're so busy booking events that you didn't even have time to like sit here and watch this session right here, right? So let's bring back the live events during this pandemic. Right now we have people smiling with masks, but hopefully down the line they could be taking photos without those masks. So there's going to be a couple points that you want to really think about. Is you want to make sure everyone on site in your team, and ideally every other vendor as well, and depending on where you live and your local regulations, that people have face masks. And I know I'm going to just use Texas as a base point. So Texas, they recently, mid-March announced, or before March, but mid-March implemented no face mask mandates. Even though our state doesn't require face masks to be worn, everyone on our team still wears a face mask. So even though we don't have to, we're still doing it because one, it just makes everyone feel more comfortable. Two, we're doing what's best for the industry, and three, it really is going to show a good example and lead to other people, so that way you can, make sure the event industry returns. And then we sanitize everything all the time, always on site, whenever. So before any equipment goes out, it gets sanitized. When it comes back, it gets sanitized. At the event, it's sanitized. It's always wiped down. We have all our team members test for COVID before and after events to make sure that they're not positive. If they're not positive, they just don't come in, right? And then that's like a whole thing with staffing. Something you really want to think about is how do you do staffing now within this situation, in this weird transition. Within that, if say your normal event has a 2-person team going out, you might need to schedule a backup, or you need to have someone on call that in case one person tests positive for that event, you could have someone to rely on to fall back to. We're implementing contact tracing. I think that's really critical, especially in the larger events. We recently have done a few events that were pretty large, and they all implement contact tracing. And for anyone that's not familiar with that term, it essentially is tracking who's coming into a certain area and then getting that information from them so we know who they are. So if at any point in time we find out that someone that came in through the entire event was actually positive for COVID, we can notify people within that time frame, that within the 30-minute window or the hour window, that they had they might have been in contact with someone that had COVID during that time. And I think and we're talking for that example is for a larger 8-hour, 10-hour day event. But if you have like a smaller event, like your typical 3-4 hour event, I think contact tracing in general would be just looking at tracking people coming in, making sure they're testing negative, and then after the event, following up, making sure that no one shows signs or symptoms. And if someone does show signs or symptoms, then they can you could let other people know, like, hey, there might have been someone at the event that might have tested positive. You want to go get tested yourself to make sure you're not infecting anyone else in your circle of people. So and with that, there's also training. So not only are you educating yourself as an owner, depending on how large your operation is, if you're multi-city, multi-store, or even if you're just one person just hiring one contractor, you want to make sure that anyone else that you're working with knows that you're up to date with the COVID regulations. And depending on what city you are, it's sometimes that changes pretty rapidly. Sometimes it doesn't. Just kind of depends, right? And then, like I said, you always want to be the pro, so people always want to rely and fall back on you on knowing what the best practices are, because the customer doesn't know as much about the event industry as you do. So you want to make sure that they feel comfortable running those events, and they're being responsible about it. And one quick thing about that is, a lot of times for the larger events, it's actually really hard to hold those events because there is a liability clause with it. So based on how insurance is set up right now, it might be harder for larger companies, especially with the brand activations and conferences, to get a event insured properly. Or if not, if it is insured properly, there could be a lot of liability that falls back upon the planners or the company sponsoring it. So those are other things you want to be considering of as you're doing events, depending on where you fall in the categories of corporate, social, or weddings for your events. So we talked briefly earlier about the event life cycle. So you're looking at the way, I guess, we approach event life cycles is before the event, you really want to just talk to your clients and make sure that they understand what they're going to do. Sometimes if you're booking weddings, maybe that's a 9-month away, 1-year away type situation. So the world's going to be completely different. So maybe, just let them know as you're booking, if we're in the same scenario as we are right now, we'll still be arriving with masks, we're doing these like procedures. But if everything looks good, then we won't, right? So you want to just make sure they know. But for corporate events, there's a lot more communication happening about that. So for us, generally in the last 3 weeks, we've been doing a lot more with corporate events. Texas kind of has opened up. So a lot of our communications in general about events now, I would say almost 50% of it is now taken over by COVID-19 compliance. How are we making sure we're being compliant with it, making sure the optics for all the stakeholders and all the attendees look really good. And by optics, I mean just like how we're perceived as, right? Because everyone wants to make sure that they're being responsible, especially when you're representing larger brands. And one thing you do, you can always follow up by reading more about this. Go to the CDC website, read about their guidelines. They have a certification over there. Check with your local city, state. Like for Austin, Texas would be like the Austin, Texas government website. If you're, in Los Angeles, same thing, et cetera. So wherever city you're in, check that. And I think that's good for you to read up on what their COVID policies are right now, and how much they could gather, what percentage of a venue space can be open, and usually it's like 25, 50, 75% is like how they break it down. So, and that also includes vendors on site. So you want to make sure that if you're having like a 100-person wedding and it's at 25% capacity and the capacity is 400, that's only the attendees, right? So it doesn't count for any of the vendors. You want to make sure you're counting those vendors in. And if for some reason that's happening and you're kind of like fudging that, you really want to talk to the planners or whoever your point of contact is to like just bring it up to them. I know it's not your job to be the planner, but just let them know that you're just trying to be as safe as possible and express your concern. Because if you don't express it before the event, you might arrive at an event during the event that you didn't realize you signed up for a crazy party with no mask on, right? So that's happened to us before a couple times because planner expressed something, client does something else, but a lot of times we just can't control what our clients do, but we could try to advise them to the best of our abilities. So talking about during the event, we sanitize every single touch point pretty often. So usually depending on the event, if it's a high touch event with a lot of people, we sanitize after every single person. So there's sanitization wipes to wipe down any touch surfaces. Other than that, we use, there's a lot of touch-free activation things. I know right now we're doing a session for Photobooth Supply Co. So they also have a wave to activate type concept. So you can go ahead and use that as well, or QR codes activate a lot of things as well. So you could do any of those to do a touch-free type option. Otherwise, just you also want to make sure that during the event that anyone else that's there, that they're doing social distancing, making sure people are being safe about it and masks aren't coming off. And if your team members do need to take masks off, have designated areas that they can take their mask off to take breaks or go eat or whatever. And that's usually outside of the walkways and walk paths of the event. So usually that'd be outdoors in a space or a separate like quote unquote green room, so to speak, right? And of course, after the event, you sanitize the entirety of your equipment, not just the touch screens, the touch points. You sanitize everything. So we wipe everything down with sanitization wipes, and then make sure that's all good. And then we're a little OCD as well, so we also use UVC lighting to just go that extra step to make sure it's taken care and sanitized. And all our staff afterwards are tested to make sure that they're negative for COVID to make sure they could do the next event. The main issue that you'll probably find as you're starting to transition into doing events is you're going to have a lot of staffing issues where people will get sick, and even if they don't test positive for COVID, but if they're just coming with a cough, the cough is like that really scary thing now, right? If you're out in public and you're picking something up or like shopping at a grocery store and you start coughing, everyone starts looking at you really weird. They're just like kind of be really quiet and like stare at you like, oh my gosh, that's crazy, right? So it's the same kind of thing at an event. If anyone coughs for any reason, even if it's allergies, it's still kind of a weird reaction right now. So with that in mind, you just want to make sure that your staff are coming in healthy. And if you can, you could do a thermometer check as well, but that's probably not as important as making sure that they're getting tested before and after each event. And then we talked a bit about education, learning more about COVID compliance and contact tracing. There's a lot of resources out there, and you guys can look up things to get certified. And I'll talk about one of them right now that I think that's really important is the COVID-19 contact tracing provided by Johns Hopkins. There's a link right there in the slide. It's provided for free right now on Coursera. Normally it's either $50 or $100, I forgot what it was, but Johns Hopkins is basically sponsoring right now to get as many people certified and educated about contact tracing for their events. And I highly encourage everyone to go take that. I feel like it's a really good starting point to educate yourself on how to do events professionally and ethically and safely. And then, yeah, so our goal, the goal really for me to come out and do the session is really to make sure that for our segment of the event industry, for the photo booth owners and operators, that we are being the professional representation of this industry, right? You don't want to be that, you don't want to be that company that's going to be part of a super spreader event. You don't want to be that company that is associated as like not being professional, just doing any kind of events. You really do want to make sure you're helping the industry get back to where it was, get back to quote unquote the good times, like we talked about, right? So making sure that we could do all that. And then, yeah, with that, this is just my contact information, my Facebook, Instagram, and our business stuff. So I guess with that, I'll pass back to Amber and we'll go into Q&As. Or maybe there's no Q&As. Is Amber back? I guess we're waiting for Amber to come back in for Q&A. She's
I can't hear you, Nate. Are we good? Thank you. Okay, awesome. Sorry about that, guys. Technical difficulties, but we're all good now. So we're going to dive into a little Q&A. Jonathan, thank you so much. That was such a thorough presentation. And I love your strategy of just kind of laying it all on the table, being very upfront about expectations and things like that. I think that's so important. And of course, we've got some great questions for you. So first question, somebody's asking, what is the best way to tactfully deal with guests who don't want to comply with safety regulations?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it really depends on what your actual regulations are in your city. So when we were doing events before where masks were mandated, we would just tell our team members be trained to say something like, oh, excuse me, I wasn't sure if you're aware, but masks are required at indoor events right now. So if you could please have your mask on. And we would just ask them nicely to do that. Usually before then, before the event even launched, we would talk to the planner or point of contact to ask, what is your protocols and procedures? Another thing you want to think about is who's going to be enforcing that, what the security situation is, quote unquote, right? So the thing is, I think for event professionals, we've kind of been stuck with the baggage, in a way where we weren't told how to enforce this. So the enforceability is a big question mark for everyone. And what I found the best solution is really to make sure there's a strategy to have a security team. Like, you know how they already have security at weddings, for example, when people are, leaving at night. Same kind of thing, just when they're coming in, like any club, checking the ID, it's kind of checking if you're having a mask on. And then just having it over communicated in any of the event communications, like masks are required, please make sure wear a mask. And then our team members can fall back on that, right? So it's really just checking with your planner to make sure what the guidelines are, so you use that as a fallback, saying, oh, I wasn't sure if you're aware this event does require masks, and if you could put it on. And then if you're in a really gray, ambiguous territory, sometimes we've lately, because of Texas mask mandate, we've had some planners that don't want to enforce it as much because Texas isn't enforcing it, but they do want to be safe, but they don't want to, rub people the wrong way, depending on, where they stand in the spectrum of things, right? I live in Austin, where I guess for anyone that isn't aware, Texas is a very red state, and Austin is a very blue city. So there's a big melting pot and mixture of thoughts and philosophies. Sure. So a good way to phrase it is, we always say something like, well, when they ask, oh, do I have to keep a mask on for the photos or whatever, you're like, you could do whatever you feel comfortable with. Whatever your comfort level is with that, please go ahead and do it. Because if they're very, paranoid about COVID-19, then they're going to keep their masks on. If they just don't care and they want to have fun and they're willing to take that risk, they can have it off. But at that point, the responsibility is onto them. But I would say usually we just the planner or the company has asked us to have masks on at all times. If you're going to take a mask off, please only take it off for the photo. And then once you leave the photo, please put it back on, so it's on and off. Just like, they're taking a drink of water or, alcohol. Sure. It's like when they're eating, it's really on and off really quickly. So that's usually the best policy.
Got it. Yeah, that's great. I love that. Okay, next question. What is the best product you use to sanitize your booth that won't ruin it?
Yeah, that's a good question. So depending on what booth you own, I don't know what you own, but so you could use isopropylene, which is just rubbing alcohol. It's now really cheap. It was really expensive during last year in April.
Early pandemic.
Yeah, early pandemic. It was really expensive. I bought 2 bottles because we were sanitizing everything all the time. I bought 2 bottles for $20 or something insane when they're $1 each, right? Yeah, because people were scalping them and I just needed it. You could use that. There's a cleaning thing that we use that Southwest Airlines uses. I don't remember the thing off the top of my head. It's $18 for a small bottle, or $32 for a large one. If anyone wants, just DM me on Instagram. I'll send that to you. But those have been really good because that's basically what the industry is using. If you look at other industries, I didn't kind of cut some slides because I didn't want to talk too much about it, but you want to look at other industries and seeing what they're doing. So the other industries that are really affected by this are like the travel and hospitality industry. So you look at what the airlines are doing, hotels are using for sanitization. Those are good standards. Another good thing is TV and movie productions. Those are really good things to look at. If you look at TV and movie productions, they have different kinds of designations. So one thing that's actually been really popular right now within that is there's these safety compliance officer roles, right? So depending on which industry you are, for events industry, you're going to see a lot of larger events now attaching new point of contact. That's not just event planner. It could be event planner with its separate role, or tied together event planner that's also a pandemic compliance advisor. So that's going to be kind of what you're looking at. Otherwise, like in the TV production world, they call that the COVID compliance officer. So depending on who your clients are, you can be talking to one of those people, and they're going to kind of tell you what their guidelines are. But in terms of liquids that don't damage your booth, albeit for your touch screens, yeah, so for iPad touchscreens, at least, you could use isopropylene. There's a test that was run by MKBHD. He's a YouTuber. He and some other people that just like cleaned their screens like 1,000 times or something insane with rubbing alcohol, and there's no effect on it. So I wouldn't really worry about it. So we've been doing it for the last year pretty aggressively. So, and if it is, honestly, you should be making enough money, charging enough to be able to like account for like cost of equipment replacement.
Totally. That makes sense. And I'm pretty sure, and correct me if you know differently, but I'm pretty sure there are rubbing alcohols or isopropyl alcohols that'll even specify like electronic grades. So you kind of know that it's specifically for electronics.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And then I would say actually that's a good point you make. So really the best way to look at it is for isopropylene, you just want a really high percentage, a high concentration. So 91% is what we recommend. So 91% evaporates really fast. It's mainly alcohol. So once you wipe it down, it pretty much dries really quickly. There was some article saying that maybe that might not stay on the surface long enough to kill the bacteria. So you need to do multiple wipes. So then you could do something like, or use a 70%, but don't go below 60% concentration. That means it's less alcohol and more water, and it'll basically stay on the surface longer and potentially damage your equipment. So 70% and higher concentration is what I would recommend. We use 91%. We just, go wipe it down a few extra times, basically.
Sure. Did everyone write that down? 91%. Write that down. That's so important. And then for anybody who owns a SALSA booth as well, just for your guys' knowledge, you can wipe down most of your booth, but we recommend not wiping down the LEDs themselves. So like the inside, kind of rim, and of course the outside shell of the booth, your golden, your iPad, that's obviously super important. And we usually recommend using like a little microfiber cloth. Is that what you guys do too?
Yeah, 100%. Microfiber cloth. Don't use paper towels. Don't use rough things. Get those microfiber cloths, the same ones they use like car detailing places. If you go to Costco, they sell it in like large packages of 50 or something for like $10, $15. We've go through bunches of those because wipe it down and they get lost at events and whatever. So, but it's a good way to reuse and be sustainable while you're using it. So after you wipe it down, you can wash those cloths in hot water in a washing machine and dry it, and you'll be fine.
Absolutely. Sustainable and save money. Okay, next question. Let's see. What has been the most effective strategy for you and your team? What has been the most effective strategy you and your team have received the most feedback on about executing these types of events?
I'm sorry. Can you clarify that question a little bit more?
Yeah. So what has been the most effective strategy, I guess, that you and your team have taken during COVID times that has received the most positive feedback from your events? So what helps you guys kind of stand out during these times putting on events to your clients? What have they sort of relayed back to you?
I think there's a few, like I said, a lot of it's like education and certification. So having all our teams certified, so we actually pay for a lot of the courses and the certifications to get our team completely certified. So anyone that's on-site certified, at least the leads are, and making sure that they're fully, communicated. We also have a complete run of show before every single event that we send out that includes these compliance issues. And we do a lot of contact tracing, or we built out our own personal system for contact tracing. So if a client doesn't have a contact tracing system, we have one that we're like, oh, well, we'll put this in with booking us, right? So it works out really well, but it's just a custom thing we built out for them.
Yeah, that's great. Jonathan, thank you so much. That's all the questions we have for now. Cannot thank you enough for coming here today. And if you guys missed it, you can reach out to Jonathan on Instagram or on Facebook. He is at Jonathan Zhao or at Booth Easy. Jonathan, thank you so much.
Great. Thank you so much, guys.
All right, we're going to head back over to Cameron and Amanda.
All right, bye.
Bye, Jonathan. Thank you.
Oh.
Cool.
Hey,
okay, we are back. Welcome back to me and Amanda. So
Having
we're gonna
fun Wednesday.
It's Wednesday, baby. So we're going to be talking a little bit more about preparing for your event. Like I said, there's just so much content to talk about with it. Amanda, I'll let you take it away because you want to. We're going to talk all about this checklist.
You say a little more, but there's guys, there is so much more. I hope you're enjoying this as much as we are. I want to go over some of the snack choices that you guys had because some of them I am here for, and some of them I gotta tell you, I have some questions. So to picture us mirror photo booth who says that what not to eat, which I thought was interesting, spicy foods that will leave you with bad breath. I want to pose a question. Why specifically spicy foods? Because there are other foods that will give you bad breath, but why spicy? Because as a spicy fan, I feel hurt.
I'm trying to think what is spicy. I don't eat spicy food. I take a bite and I sweat, so it's game over for me.
I mean, I can imagine maybe something really smelly like a spicy Dorito might not go over so well, but wasabi peas don't smell bad.
See, I'm not a sushi fan either.
Well, this is peas, so you're good.
Oh, wasabi peas, you said. I don't when I think of wasabi, I think of sushi. I can't be the only one.
Okay. Let's move on. So we had DJ Danny mention trail mix, which is where it's at, and
that's
I have to agree because trail mix can really mean anything. You can have pretzels and nuts, but you can also have M&Ms and caramel things, and who is not here for that?
Yeah, absolutely. Which also kind of leads me to the next question, because trail mix it's excellent, right? But it always makes me really thirsty. So what is your guys' drink of choice?
So we won't tell anybody. I thought you were asking me, but that's true. You did say everybody. So everybody else, please answer too. But my favorite drink, and everybody that works with me knows this. I love sparkling water drinks. Bubbly is my current favorite. But hey, if you guys have other suggestions, I would love to hear them.
So somebody's on the smoothie train with you.
Okay, I've got a smoothie right here. So I see you, smoothie drinker. What about you, Cameron? What's your go-to drink on the go?
On the go. I was gonna say beer, but you cannot take beer on the go.
Yeah, as a PSA, we do not advocate drinking either on the go or at an event. Do not do this.
Yeah, don't do that. I'm actually a pretty big Gatorade fan, or just iced coffee, throwing iced coffee in a mug.
Okay, coffee we can deal with. All right, let's
Gatorade's
move on.
Good. Come on. And if you're gonna be drinking beer the day before, then you're probably gonna need Gatorade the next day anyway.
Okay, I'm just gonna have us move right along. Things that you want to pack with you the night before. You obviously want to make sure that your iPad is packed. If you don't, or if you have any kind of tablet, it doesn't have to be an iPad. If it's not already in the booth as you're transporting it, make sure that you safely and securely pack it up. I like to put mine in my car so that I know already. It's one fewer thing that I have to check for when I'm out the door. You also want to make sure that you have a backup kit too. So a backup kit could include spare cables, zip ties, a screwdriver, my personal favorite, duct tape, because if things break, you can always just use a piece of duct tape and fix it right up.
Yep. And there's even more to that list, but we will tell you more about that at the next break. For now, we are going to be moving back on to Amber, and she's going to introduce our next speaker. So we will see you guys soon.
All right, we are back. Guys, we are at the halfway point for day 1, which is amazing. And before I introduce our next guest, who I'm so excited about, I want everyone to quickly go into the chat or the comments of wherever you're watching. I want you to comment 2 things that you have learned so far that you are going to implement in your business right away. Go do that right now. Okay, now I am genuinely so thrilled to introduce this next guest because I had the pleasure of meeting her just last week. She has a passion for rusty metal bits and wood worn by time. Jamie Wolfer has spent most of her adult life working in interior design, specializing in vintage decor. Now, it only seemed to make sense that she would combine her powers of event hosting and decor crafting into one blissful career: wedding planning. She first fell in love with the job while planning her own wedding, unknowingly feeding a habit that would soon spark a change in her career path. Her obsession has blossomed into a happy and full position at JW Coordination, and she would love nothing more than to make your dream wedding a reality. I'm so excited to introduce the wonderful Jamie Wolfer.
Hello. That's quite the introduction. It's a lot to live up to. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Awesome. Okay, amazing. So what are you going to talk to us about today? I believe it's about networking.
It is everyone's favorite subject. It's like going to the dentist, something you know you have to do, but like you kind of don't want to sometimes. Yeah, we're going to talk about networking, but I promise I'll try to make it like slightly entertaining. If not, make fun of myself a little bit to keep you completely occupied the whole time.
I have not a worry in the world. Jamie, take it away.
Fabulous.
Hey there. Today we are going over a massive business opportunity for 2021, photo booths, and all the ways you can make money with them. Let's start with something we all know well, in-person events. These are gonna be your weddings, birthdays, showers, holiday parties, anniversaries, and really anything you can celebrate. These are moments that deserve to be captured, so people will rent out a photo booth and they'll pay anything from $400 to $1,500 to rent out your photo booth for just 3 to 4 hours. We're all aware of everything that happened in 2020, but experts predict a 250% increase in weddings from 2019 to 2021. Experts predict there won't be enough photo booths to meet demand as current photo booth owners are getting double and triple booked. Then we have long-term rentals or permanent installations. This is when a business like a retail location, a gym, a restaurant, a bar, they'll rent out the booth for up to months at a time. You just drop it off and pick it up when they're done. And with innovative photo booth features like hands-free mode and QR code sharing, guests do not even have to touch the booth. So it's safe and fun for everyone. Photo booths are marketing machines. When guests take their capture, they'll enter in their phone number or an email, which will act as a lead generation for these businesses, which is extremely valuable. And businesses will pay an average of $1,000 per month to use your booth, while you manage it remotely. And finally, virtual events, which have seen a 1,300% increase in Google searches since the pandemic hit. Yep, we're human, and humans crave engagement with friends, family, colleagues, and customers. That's where Virtual Booth comes in. This technology is bringing a full photo booth experience to any device, allowing them to make memories virtually with people from anywhere in the world. And these virtual booths are profitable. I'll say it again for the people in the back, profitable. 40% of event planners are willing to spend $5,000 in event tech, with a whopping 19% willing to pay over $15,000. This is exactly why virtual booths will go for $500 a day, with some events lasting days, if not weeks. If that hasn't gotten you stoked on virtual events, may I also mention that 67% of industry professionals say they will take a hybrid approach moving forward. What does that mean? Events will have both an in-person component and a virtual component, so you could potentially charge for both. There are real people doing these things right now and absolutely thriving.
I started my own business because I was working a 9 to 5, and I was also doing side gigs like Uber, DoorDash, Uber Eats, and I was putting a lot of time into that, and I wasn't seeing the returns that I wanted. I spoke to one of my friends who was a photographer, and he recommended photo booths. Out of all the vendors, I chose Photobooth Supply Co because of the customer support. They made me feel very comfortable. Entering a new field, I wanted to know how I can translate my current skill set into the photo booth business, and it's paying off right now.
Now, the real question is, what traits do these companies have in common? Of course, the first thing is to have a great photo booth. The only problem with that is some photo booths cost $15,000, require complicated electronics, and multiple people in a truck to get it where it needs to go. No thanks. With Photobooth Supply Co booths, they take 1 minute to set up, require 0 tools, and you can fit them in any car. All of that means you're spending less time and less money on each event. The second thing they have in common is great software. At Photobooth Supply Co, the software is so dang easy. You can manage all of your events right from your phone, like this. Clients will always want their events to stand out, which is why we're always releasing updates to give you the latest and greatest features so you never lose a booking. And if you do need help, our team is happy to chat any day of the week. The third thing these companies have in common is phenomenal marketing. Their beautiful websites and engaging social media pages ensure they're never losing a deal. But hiring photographers and designers can be expensive and take you away from getting your first booking. That's why all our booth purchases include hundreds of photos, renderings, videos, social media templates, and so much more. And finally, all of these photo booth owners are continually educating themselves on their business. Typically, online classes, business communities, and one-on-one coaching can cost thousands of dollars. You can also learn business tactics from other successful owners in our private Facebook group, and we offer one-on-one coaching to ensure you are getting the absolute most out of your photo booth. We only succeed if you succeed. That's exactly why we built the Photobooth Academy, a collection of over 100 videos teaching you how to start,
Hey guys.
Hey everyone,
Obviously-
we are back. Hopefully you can hear us. Let us
And
know
if you
in the
can't,
chat.
Definitely let us know if you can hear us now. My eyes are on that chat.
Yeah,
Here you
I'm
are.
watching it as we speak just to double check, make sure.
Sam, can you guys hear us yet? Okay, well, while we wait for confirmation whether or not you can hear us, I'm going to run through these. We've got Hercules Entertainment is a vegan. I will bet that is challenging.
Yeah.
You know, I thought about being a vegan. I think that the one thing that really holds me up is cheese. I just can't.
Yeah.
I can't live without it.
Yeah, I can. Oh, they can hear us. Woo!
Oh, yay!
We got it. Nice.
All
Very
right.
nice. We will be
Okay, so-
transitioning back then in a little bit. We're just gonna let our cameraman
team
Nate get
set up.
everything figured out.
And
But in the
don't worry,
meantime,
we'll have our speakers start from the beginning.
yeah,
So
don't worry.
that, you know, I mean, it's not like you missed a bunch of stuff, guys, right?
Yeah.
Like, we are really sorry about that. We're not totally sure what happened, but we appreciate you guys hanging in there with us and chatting with us in the chat and sharing your shared love of cooking shows and food in general.
Mm-hmm.
I
Hear
feel
you
like
in
any-
Europe.
Yeah, I
That
feel
must-
like, sorry, Cameron, but I feel
You're good.
very strongly like when you aren't totally sure what to talk about, food is a universal topic.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's so much to talk about. What's your go-to? What's your go-to comfort food?
Grilled cheese with brie cheese. And I know that sounds very fancy, but
Yeah, a little bit. Mine was literally going to be beer cheese soup. So yeah, a little fancy compared to mine, but that's okay. You just throw some beer, some cheese, and
I mean,
you make a
listen, some of us are from Wisconsin, Cameron,
soup.
and some of us are New Yorkers and have taste.
Whoa, ouch. Okay, if I have anybody from the Midwest in the chat, I need some backup immediately, please.
And I will take all of the shade y'all want to throw at me. I deserve it. I'm sorry. I mean, listen, we live a certain way out here in the mountains.
Right.
Can we just talk about the fact that nobody has said anything about the fact that I'm broadcasting from the mountains? I'm
Yeah.
a little I'm hurt.
Somebody said try brie and apples.
Green
you tried
apples
that?
is one of my favorite things, and if you put like a balsamic reduction on that,
All right.
you won't see me for a little while.
Ouch, keeping it fancy again. Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
I am who I am. I'm not sorry.
People, whoa, Amanda, shade being thrown. Yeah, absolutely,
Oh,
and being
no.
attacked. This is what Amanda gets.
This is
to
what
do.
this is the real me, guys. Oh no. I just want to make it really clear. I have a lot of family in the Midwest, specifically in Wisconsin, which is why I feel so.
She's trying to save
comfortable
herself.
being
It's
a
okay.
jerk. I am
She's trying to
digging
save
myself
herself.
out of that ditch. I'm a mom. You can't be mad at a mom.
Yeah. All right. We'll let it slide. Speaking of which, though, where is everybody visiting us from? I know we talked about it at the very beginning, but a lot of you guys still hadn't tuned in. So tell us where you're watching us from. I'll be curious to see.
Let's see who has the funniest name for a city.
Oof. I can think of a couple.
Cameron, I'm gonna let you pick so that I don't get in trouble this time.
I'll have to let them roll in and we'll guess on whoever lives in the city or the town with the funniest name.
Yes,
you don't win anything, but we'll talk about it.
You win my admiration and also my envy. I've always wanted to live in a town with like a really fun name.
We got
shout out to all my
Denver.
friends. No, listen. I got to give a speed shout out to all my
I'm
friends
listening.
in Coxsackie, New York.
Oh
It's
my
a real
God.
place.
Jesus.
Please don't bleep me. It's a real town.
Gosh.
That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, we have a bunch of fun town names. And this is completely unrelated. We could pull up a list. But anyway, as everybody tells us where they're visiting us from, we will continue on talking a little bit about the preparation list. So
If you insist. Okay.
Without getting too off topic.
Getting back into it. We always recommend, and this is something we hear from a lot of owners, that you pack gaffer tape. And for those of you that don't actually know what gaffer tape is, it's a lot like duct tape. So I'm going to give myself a pat on the back for that. But gaffer tape is really, really great for making sure you can tape down any wires and cords so that not only do your guests not trip over them, and get hurt, but so that you don't trip on them and hurt your booth.
Yeah.
I feel like I did that out of order in importance, but you know what I'm saying. Use the gaffer tape and make sure that any of those cords, wires, anything that you need to keep secure and on the ground, covered with that gaffer tape. If you want to get really fancy, I definitely recommend that you bring like some kind of rug. I like IKEA for that because they have a lot of really inexpensive ones, and you can just throw it down on top of the gaffer tape with the wires under it and then the booth on top, and it actually creates a really nice setup. So
Yeah.
Gaffer tape.
Yeah,
That was
no,
a very
that's
long
really good one.
explanation.
A really good one. And I know we're kind of jumping around here. One thing too is I can't believe we forgot about this is Booth Summit. We have talked about virtual booth a little bit already, and we actually have a virtual booth for you guys to use. So I am going to be sending a link to our virtual booth in the chat right now. Feel free to take a picture. We'd love to see all of you taking part in the Booth Summit virtual booth, playing around, taking pictures, using all the different features.
Yep.
Yeah,
show us your backdrops.
Show us your backdrops. Get creative with it. Have fun. We'd love to
show
see
us your
it.
favorite snacks.
Your favorite poses.
Yes.
Your favorite drinks. I mean, hey, whatever you got around you, throw it in a photo. Take as many as you want.
Yes, and if you have pets, we definitely want to see those too.
Pets are A+ as well. Yeah, for sure.
Now, before we get too far off topic, I will just let you guys know, I feel like we owe it to you to be transparent about this. Cameron is a dog person. I'm more of a cat person.
I didn't know you were a cat person. Wow, okay. Nate, I think I'm going to need a new co-host.
I mean, I realize that I just keep making myself look worse. But anyway, another thing that you should bring in your backup kit for events when you're getting prepped is an extension cord. Even if you don't need one, there's a really solid chance that you will need one at some point. So keep it in that backup kit. But also, I've been to events where I haven't needed it, but somebody else, like one of the DJs, does need it. And then you get to be the hero, and everybody is happier because they get to have music and photos. And it's one of those things that's just smart to have.
Yeah.
So
no, and it makes a lasting impression too when you come prepared. Maybe somebody normally does come prepared and they completely forgot, and you're able to lend them a hand and say, hey, look, I've got you, no worries, like we can help each other out with this. I mean, that makes a really huge difference, and like I said, it makes a really lasting impression there. So
it does, and it really plays really well into our community over competition way of approaching pretty much everything. Being a team player, that comes back around. So always go into things thinking like, okay, maybe I don't need this, but maybe somebody else will, because it's nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So the last thing I want to talk about is that I really suggest that you always bring with you some business cards. And I realize that sounds dated, and I can hear Kat laughing at me in the same way that she laughed about fax machines, but hear me out. Business cards are actually a really personal way of giving your information out to people that might be interested in booking you later. You can customize them. They're really cool business cards now too. You can make them so that they're actually functional and not just like a bookmark functional. Do a Google search. They have ones that open cans and like do all kinds of crazy stuff. And that really, like, who's going to forget the person with the functional business card? Nobody. So do remember to bring them in. If you don't have any, there are a lot of places that can design them for you for not a lot of money.
For sure. And speaking of unforgettable people, we are going to go back to Amber, who is going to introduce our speaker, Jamie. We're actually just going to go straight to Jamie. Yeah. So like I said, speaking of unforgettable, we're going back to Jamie. Nobody is going to forget about her and her networking techniques after today. That is for sure. So thank you guys for listening to us, and we will be back later.
Academy trailer.
Hi, my name is Brandon Wong.
Hi, my name is Katrina.
My name is Catalina Block.
Hey, Brian here.
Hi there, my name's Nate.
Hi guys, I'm Cassie.
And I'm gonna be one of your guides in this Photo Booth Academy.
We created the Photo Booth Academy here to help you achieve your goals.
All right, guys, grab your coffee.
I'm going to be teaching you everything you didn't know technically about Photo Booth.
Any professional business needs insurance.
We're going to go over one of the most exciting parts of SALSA, which is pairing the LEDs.
Today, we're going to talk about how to close sales over the phone.
This is what makes SALSA, SALSA.
A few of my other favorite tips at any event are to not drink.
Hope you learn a ton, and good luck in getting those clients.
Yeah, give me that money.
Shutter speed is the measurement of how long we allow light into the camera. Color temperature is how blue or red an image is.
I know when you think about accounting, it probably wasn't your absolute favorite course from college or high school.
Please, for the love of God, clean your lens.
But really, my main goal is to get you to a point that you have fun.
First of all, congratulations. This is one of the best synergies you can ever have.